Astronauts to the moon.
10, 9, ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
Welcome to reality.
Baby, here we are. We're back with Brainwaves on DeepTalkRadio.com. I am, as always, Uncle Creepy, Steve Barton, and joining me is Joe Netter. Netter!
Yeah, buddy.
This is a show I've been wanting to do for a long time. Let me tell you a little story. Amy says she is getting ready. So yes, she will be on the debate. She just needs a few more minutes, and that's cool because I'm gonna call her at 10 o'clock, and we're gonna do our thing. I'm so glad, Amy. Thank you for coming on the show, and this is just gonna be fucking an extraordinarily fun time with
It's gonna be great. I'm gonna pleasure myself.
One of the single most. This is like a big thing now, man. This flat Earth thing. I was unaware of how big it is. And it's not big enough for me to buy it, but it's big enough for me to like pay attention to it, if only out of morbid curiosity. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And where did you first hear about the flat earthers?
Well, I mean, I think it started in the year 784. Benjamin Holclaw was taking his principal cruiser across the ocean looking for new poontang. I don't know, man. It's just one of those things that just pop up on occasion with the internet. I mean, how the internet goes.
Yeah.
It's a forum for anybody to be as weird as they want, and we obviously celebrate that because look at us.
No, that's what I mean, dude. I am very much of the belief that everyone can believe whatever they want, whatever gets them through the day. I'm not here to make fun of anybody. I wouldn't make fun of anybody, but I genuinely want to hear how these people could think of such a thing, because like I mini debated George over dinner. I was like, well, do you believe in science? And his answer was no. I'm like, do you believe in gravity? And he's like, no. I'm like, well, how the fuck do you think you're standing on the earth? So bizarre. I can't wait. As a matter of fact, I think that we're going to throw the break a little early, and I'm going to try to get everyone together. So this break might be about 10 minutes long. So guys, hang on. We'll be back with Brainwaves and the Great Flat Earth Debate of 2016 in just a few minutes. We'll be right back. And we are back on Brainwaves. I have two of our guests here still waiting for Amy. She's having a little bit of a technical difficulty, but that's okay. Joe, you there?
I am here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. And I want to make a little bit of an introduction right now because our guest, George Gigi Wingmaker, Winggiver Anderson, when he found out that Jeran from Jeranism was going to be on the show, he got really excited. So you there, George?
Yes, sir.
All right, George, I want you to meet Jeran from Jeranism. Jeran, you there?
I'm here.
All right, well, here's your meeting. Two flat earthers connecting like magnetic salt and pepper shakers. Go ahead, kiss, guys.
Hey, what's up? What's your name? Jared or Jared or Jerry?
Jerin.
Jaren.
Jared. Yes, it is a pleasure and an honor to meet you, man. You're one of the pioneers and one of the forefathers of this movement.
Well, thank you.
Yes, growing up, I just want to quickly say, growing up, I wanted to meet Larry Bird and Michael Jordan and all these other pro athletes. But no, I want to meet you and other flat earthers out here every day fighting the good fight, doing the truth, and pushing flat earth and a bunch of other stuff that goes along with flat earth.
Well, I appreciate that. Thanks.
See, now, the one thing I've noticed about these flat Earth guys, and that's how I'm going to, and believe me, let me just state right off the bat that nobody's here to make fun of anyone. Okay, this is a genuine talk about genuine concerns that that lie on each side. With the round Earth is like going, how the fuck could you possibly believe that? And the flat Earth is going, well, how could you stay with your eyes closed and not realize it? So it might get salty, but that's expected. Jaren, I warned you already. You were cool with it, right?
Absolutely.
And George, the first words out of my mouth is, I think you're some kind of fucking nut. You remember that?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. So I just want to be sure everybody knows that everyone's on a very level playing field and everyone is just ready to say their piece. I find this very interesting. Now, a few things that George said. Now, George, you had told me at the restaurant that you didn't believe in science. Is that correct?
Well, what do you mean? Science is it's a
George?
religion at this point. It's
George?
a bunch of stuff that people say, they don't prove it. Science, you have to do it over and over and over and then prove it.
Okay. Now, Jaren, you feel the same way?
Absolutely.
Okay, so
Yeah,
Jaren,
science has become a religion.
Science has become a religion. Okay, so Jaren, do you believe in gravity?
It depends what you mean by that, but if you're talking about the force that sends everything on Earth towards the ground, then yes. But if you're talking about that same force being responsible for the moon remaining in orbit, which they consider it always falling towards the Earth and just barely missing the Earth by the curvature, no, then I don't apply that to things in space, if you want to call it that.
Okay, so now, George, did you happen to go to the website and see the map that Jaren, I should say, did you happen to go to the website and see the map that George had drawn out?
Yeah, I saw the picture. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you both are of the mindset that the world is flat and we're surrounded by a giant ice wall, right? That's how it works?
For me personally, I wouldn't exactly go that far because I don't know. We don't know what's out there. I've never seen the ice wall with my own eyes, so it'd be hard for me to say that that's the case. But
okay.
That's generally the theory that's been pushed around in the past by other flat Earth proponents.
So George, tell us about this ice wall.
Okay, well,
It sounds all very Game of Thrones to me.
yeah,
Is
that's
winter
what he said.
coming,
It's
motherfucker?
fine, too. Well, I don't know, like he said, I've never seen it with my eyes, but we're under the assumption Antarctica is not a little continent that it's 12,000 miles around that you can circumnavigate in a couple of weeks or nothing. Antarctica is a big, huge ice wall that's 60,000 miles around that takes 3 years to go around. And this has been, several sailors have did this. The one most recently, probably about within 5 years ago, some British dudes went down there and went all the way around Antarctica, said it took them about 3 years, and it was about 60 to 70,000 miles they put on their boat, on the odometer.
George, any comment on that?
Well, me?
I mean, Jaren, I'm sorry.
That's right. No, I mean, he's absolutely right that just looking at the past, looking at Captain Cook's logs, Magellan's logs, those guys went, I think Cook had it down at 60,000 miles, saying that he could never find the southern continent. So how is that? Because he said he saw a wall of ice as far as he could see east and west. And they just kept going, and it took him 60-something thousand miles. Same thing with Magellan. I think his was around 52,000 miles. But come on, the equator is supposed to be 25,000 miles. So what are we doing taking 50,000 miles to go around the southern hemisphere?
Okay, so wait. So you're saying that Magellan and these other explorers, they have seen this ice wall?
Absolutely.
Now, how come no one has seen it recently?
everybody's seen it. If you just type in, or you could go to Google Earth and bring up, Antarctica and just go around where all the little pictures are around the edge of Antarctica. The entire thing is an ice wall. That's what you see when you get there. And if you just look up ice wall, Antarctic ice wall, look that up in Google right now, and you'll see thousands of pictures.
But is it on Wikipedia?
I don't know. You have to look up ice wall and see what you
If it's not on Wikipedia, it can't be true, dude. That's just the way the internet works. So here's another question, because I have questions, because this shit blows my mind. It really does. If the world has a finite end, okay, that's up against a wall and all that stuff, okay, how come no one's ever traversed this wall and looked over the edge of it and seen nothingness, I guess? Because if the Earth is flat, obviously on the other side of the wall is just outer space. It's a void, correct?
Well, let me point something out real quick. Just that you have to remember that when we were taught in school, and I went through school just like you guys did. I believed what you guys did till 2 years ago. That we're taught a certain flat Earth. We're taught about going and finding the edge, and we're talking about boats sailing off the edge. So they certainly pushed a certain type of flat Earth. They told us, well, you couldn't fly around it. How would you fly around it? How could the sun be both day and night? And so we all thought it was silly and goofy, and we get shown the globe, right from second grade, first grade. So we all assumed it was a globe and assumed scientists had done the test. But what you're talking about is like an edge that you would fall off. People have gone to Antarctica, and when they go up there, it's just vast snow. And if they went too far, it would be too cold for them to live. So no one's ever seen the edge. We don't even know if the edge exists. We don't even know if there's more land on the other side of the wall. Who would know those things? Because we can't go there. If you try and go to Antarctica, go ahead and try it and see what happens to you.
Okay, but
the Antarctic Treaty says you can't go down there.
Okay, but wait. What you just said, we can't see the edge. No one knows if the edge exists, right?
Correct.
Then how do you know there's an edge? Isn't everything flat have an edge? So if you don't believe in the edge, do you think the world just goes on in every direction vast? Is that it? I mean, I'm not trying to make fun of you. I'm just trying to wrap my head around it.
I would have, a lot of questions for your beliefs as well. But if we don't know because we haven't been able to see it, then it would be just conjecture for me to say that, right?
To a point, I guess. But my point is, we live in a world where technology has made so many things plausible. You mean to tell me no one has come up with a way that we can insulate our bodies through some strange suit or something to traverse these places without freezing to death?
So you can't go down to Antarctica, right? I mean, you have to have permission of your government. It's, think of land in this world. That any land that anybody ever found, it was immediately seized upon by governments, by people, by sailors, by, anybody looking for anything they can come up on. So then you have Antarctica down there, which even Admiral Byrd, who went down there in the 30s and 40s, said that there's a huge, vast amount of coal. It's got all this resources. It'll supply the world for years. But then all of a sudden, in 1950, I actually think it was 62 or something around then, a combined effort by all these governments that are all fighting in all these wars and everything, but they got together and said, we have to make an Antarctic treaty that nobody can go to Antarctica, that it cannot be used for anything other than our scientific purposes with the people we allow to go down there, when we say they can go, and the exact directions that we say they can go down there. So it's not something that you or I can just get on a boat and go to Antarctica. It's not allowed.
But people have been to Antarctica.
Sure.
Yeah, only to see the penguins and stuff. It's the only piece of land in the whole world that's not claimed and resourced. It's the only piece of land that's not claimed by nobody.
But he just said that but Jaron just said that the land was claimed by the governments. So
nobody can claim
there's
it.
a treaty saying that no one could go there and pull the resources out of Antarctica. That's what the treaty says. No one. It's the only piece of land that's not resource that no one owns and claims and is using it to extract.
Okay. So one of the things I'm sorry, you guys blow my mind. It's fucking awesome. Joe, what are you making of this?
Well, I'm trying to take it all in, you know.
So let me just ask you guys
trying to
a
listen.
question
Sure.
back real quick.
Of course.
You do realize that to believe what you believe, that we're on a spinning ball at 1,000 miles per hour at the equator, maybe 700 miles per hour up and around the United States.
Mach 1.5.
Huh?
Mach 1.5. They think we're going Mach 1.5.
Right? And you think that combined with the sun, we're all moving around the galaxy at 490,000 miles per hour, and that the galaxy and us and the solar system are all going around the Great Attractor at 2.2 million miles per hour, and the Great Attractor is 100 quadrillion times the size of our sun. That's what you believe. And just note that you're calling us crazy, when this is what you believe, that you are flying through outer space, the endless space. And we get asked all the time, what's underneath the flat Earth? Come on, guys, what's underneath it? And it's like, okay, what's under space? I mean, how you have accepted a belief that space is never ending. It's going as far as there is no, it's going down and up and left and right forever. And
Hello? Did we lose him? Hello? Okay. For whatever reason, Skype just died. So I'm going to reconnect everyone. Hang on 1 second, guys. Amy, do I have you?
Hello, hello, hello.
Okay, we have you. Let me add the rest now. You got
Hello, hello.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
This is madness. Hang on, let me get these other guys back.
Am I back on, buddy?
You're back, Joe. Hang on.
Hey, Joe, how are you?
Let me get Jaren.
I'm good. How are you? It's wonderful to meet you.
It's wonderful to meet you again, too, I guess.
Yeah, well, it's the first time we've actually, I think, heard the
Hello?
sound of each other's voices.
Yes, George, we got you back.
Excitement.
And Jaren, hang on, Jaren. I'm grabbing George. I don't know what happened, Skype. Well, you know, this is live fucking radio, man. Shit happens. Okay, George is no longer online, so whatever happened with him bumped us. So, to reiterate, Amy, I don't know if you've been...
Okay.
have you been listening?
Actually, no.
Okay, so...
I took a short nap before the show and woke up a little bit too late, and now I've just got a few written notes over here. I just wrote up some notes real quick about a few things. But
on the air with us right now is Jaren of Jeranism, one of the founding fathers, from what I understand, of this flat Earth theory. I don't know if that's true.
Founding fathers of what?
Of the flat Earth theory, I guess. So, Jaren, this is Amy Martin. And
hi, Amy.
Hi, Jaren. So you're the one who founded the Flat Earth Society back in the 50s?
No, well,
that's just the title they're giving me. I just one of the first few people that came out on YouTube. There was several before me, but one of the early ones.
Okay, so...
Okay. Would
Amy,
you happen to know Ronald Farnham?
Never heard of him.
You've never heard of him. He's the guy who supposedly called NASA and was trying to get information from them, some videos of round Earth, and we had a brief chat. It was really interesting. You can check out my chat with him last year if you'd like. It's over on hauntedskeptic.com. I believe it's podcast episode number 3. That was my old podcast.
Okay, cool.
And before we get into that, before Skype shit the bed on us all, as it does so frequently.
Well, shit the bed.
Yes. Well, Jaren was actually posing a question to us round Earthers. Jaren, can you reiterate that, please, so Amy can get it too?
Yeah, I was just making sure that one thing that I never did was actually stop and think about, as a globe believer, which I was my entire life, went through school like everybody, and never stopped and thought about what it actually all required of me, which requires that you you have to settle with the belief that you're spinning 1,000 miles per hour, that you're going around the sun 66,000 miles per hour, that the entire solar system is going around the galaxy at 500,000 miles per hour, the galaxy is going around the Great Attractor at 2.2 million miles per hour. So we're actually traveling.
It's exciting stuff. We are traveling quite fast.
Yes, and in many different directions. And we don't feel anything, by the way. We don't feel a thing. And also that the great attractor itself is 100 quadrillion times the size of our sun. So despite them telling us what science entails, which is it has to be testable, falsifiable, it has to be repeatable, that's a scientific fact.
I do have a question, though. Have you ever flown in an airplane?
That was
Absolutely.
my question. That was my exact fucking question. Go ahead.
So you have flown in an airplane before?
Many
An
times.
airplane flies straight. It sure does.
Many times.
It gets to cruising altitude. The pilot hits autopilot, which is cruise control for the plane, and then the plane flies straight and never compensates for curvature. You would have to.
Well, listen. Let's take this back a little bit. I just wanted to know if either of you had flown on an airplane before, and were aware, that you were going probably, in some cases, 1,100 miles an hour.
No, 500.
When do you fly?
Well, actually, when you take off on the ground, most planes you get up to about I'd say maybe 100 miles per hour in this example we'll use. But at some point, you are flying around 1,100 miles per hour, depending on where you are. And when you're up in the airplane, do you feel like you're going 1,100 miles per hour when you're at 32,000 feet? Not necessarily.
When does the plane go that fast?
When does the plane go that fast?
I don't even care if the plane goes at fucking 300 miles per hour. Do you feel when you're in an airplane like you're going 300 miles per hour?
Yeah, I mean, do you feel like you're traveling that fast
You feel the
when you're
movement, though.
when you're in the air like that?
The plane is enclosed, right? So just like would you feel it if the window was down? Yeah, I'm assuming you would. Now, are we in an enclosed sphere? Is there a barrier? There's a shell on the
There's
Earth,
an atmosphere.
We have the Earth's atmosphere, if that's what you are referring to. We have gravity.
The reason you don't feel a plane in the plane, you don't feel the wind going by you, is because you're inside of a closed structure, right? So if we don't feel the wind on the Earth, we don't feel any wind from the spinning. So then, therefore, we must be in a closed structure. Correct?
But
no, not really.
the Earth,
Because it doesn't really work that way. Now, my second point was, that has nothing to do with, do you feel like you're going fast when you are traveling at that altitude and at that speed? Do you know how we reach those speeds if we were only, say, traveling 100 miles an hour when we are doing liftoff?
Through lift?
Through lift, yes, but lift doesn't necessarily define how you're going to get from point A to point B. Now, I mean, if you're traveling, if you were traveling on an airplane, and say, as I had given in the example, say you start off traveling 100 miles per hour, the Earth rotates at about 100 miles per hour. And if the airplane is about, I'm sorry, not 100, 1,000, 1,000, it rotates at about 1,000 miles per hour. And, at some point, if you're going to be traveling east, you take that 1,000 miles per hour, and then you add on the 100 miles per hour you're going, and you get about 1,100 miles per hour.
So if
you're traveling west,
Yeah.
it would
Airlines
be...
travel at 1,000 miles per hour. They travel at 500 miles per hour.
Okay. Well, what I'm talking here, I'm talking about a very large jet. Say you're traveling on an international flight. In this example, I'm saying this is how it works. You're up in an airplane. You're traveling east. You're flying at 1,100 miles an hour. You start to try to fly west. You're flying at 1,000 miles minus 100 miles per hour at that point. And it has to do with the curvature of the Earth in some ways. And then you have to also take into account the jet stream, which planes might be fighting against or might be providing a tailwind. Of course, jet streams are caused by the Coriolis effect, which states that different parts of the Earth are moving at different speeds. And because of that, it happens that way because the Earth is round and it is indeed spinning.
Okay, so if the Coriolis effect is an after effect from the spinning, then how do you explain why in a plane, you said we don't feel anything inside of a plane, But now we're inside of the Earth, and the spinning of it does affect the atmosphere. It does affect the inside of the Earth, but we still don't feel it. So it affects the winds. It affects the jet streams. You say that comes from the spinning Earth, yet we don't feel it.
You're not going to feel a jet stream standing out on your front lawn. You're going to feel it in the air as it is affecting the airplane.
And just to clear something up really quick,
Yes.
I just Googled the fastest air-breathing jet aircraft reached a speed of 2,193 miles per hour. It was capable of taking off and landing unassisted on unconventional runways.
Yeah,
so
you're talking about like a
Also
fighter.
military.
no, a air-breathing jet aircraft. The fastest
What
clock is
commercial airlines travel at? What do commercial airlines travel at? They travel at 500 miles per hour.
We're just talking about normal people. Nobody that we know, nobody you know, has ever flown faster than 1,000 miles per hour. But that's fine. I mean, I understand
I
that
don't
the
think so.
Concorde is. Okay, I'm just
I don't
telling
think
you.
so.
You also said that by flying west, that we're going 1,000 miles per hour minus the plane flight speed of 100, which you just said the Earth was spinning 1,000 miles per hour. So if you went west, it would be you're flying 100 miles per hour minus the 1,000.
So how
So
can
we're going-
you catch
No,
up with
that's
the
not true. That's not how it works.
spin?
That's how you just. How does it work? Then you just said
Well,
that we're.
just as I explained it. I mean, based on the premise here, your premise is that the Earth is not round and does not rotate, and therefore, if that were true, and we took off in an airplane, you know, of course, you would have drag and lift and things, but you would not be able to reach those types of speeds.
So what I'm saying is, let's say that I agree with you for a second, because the spin of the Earth is adding the speed to the plane. Now, what about if you go against the spinning Earth? That would be minus that speed.
You'd
You're
get there
saying
3
it doesn't
times
work.
faster.
Doesn't make any sense.
No, not necessarily. That's not how that works. I can show you. I can show you a few videos, aviation wise, that can can explain that a little bit better and the physics of that.
I think the Coriolis effect could be actually explained a little bit easier too. First of all, I was just checking on Google, which is our friend, that commercial aircraft travel between 500 and 900 miles per hour usually, and the Earth is spinning at 1040 miles per hour. So
what
there's
page
that.
is that on Google that says 900 miles per hour for a commercial jet? Because I'm going to call. What did you say at the beginning of the show? You're going to call bullshit on things.
No,
Okay.
I said I was going to call bullshit.
Oh, that's right. Sorry, cut the echo out.
So something I'm really interested in, you know, aside from this, I guess this, you want to call it a debate or anything, I'm very interested in learning, you know, what it was, where was your moment, I guess, your own personal aha moment that you felt that drove you to this belief that the Earth is flat.
Yeah, what was your epiphany?
A moment that you think the Earth is round and spinning. You only think that it's round and spinning because you've been told that it's round and spinning, that you've been taught that it's round and spinning. You've never back-checked any of this.
Actually, I have.
No, you just said the plane. What happens in a plane? A plane gets to cruising altitude. It flies straight. The captain hits autopilot, which is cruise control for the plane. The plane does not steer itself. It does not compensate for curvature. At 500 to 900 miles per hour, for every mile that the plane flew, it would have to dip the nose down at almost a 45-degree angle to compensate.
No, that doesn't make sense. That's not. We need to understand aviation here a little bit. And I'm not an aviator. I'm not a pilot, and I'm not going to pretend that I know everything there is to know about aviation science. However, let's get back to the topic. I asked you a question.
I broke the Atlantic 4 times. The plane flies straight. The captain presses autopilot. He has a cocktail. He drills a stewardess, and then he lands the plane.
Oh, is that how it works?
Flies straight.
I should have become a
Good job.
fucking pilot. All right, wait a second.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
I just want to say I did put up a video.
George.
God love his passion, though, right?
George,
Yes.
we have to let people talk.
Okay, let me.
You know, I'd asked a question,
Just
and I don't
hang on.
believe
We'll
it
get
was
to
addressed.
we'll get to your point,
and it
George.
took me 5 minutes to get back in the
George,
conversation.
George.
So let me get back in the conversation.
George.
Yes, sir.
Let Jaren answer her question, and we'll get right to you.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So I was just going to mention, if you do go to my YouTube channel, I've got my most recent or second most recent video is with an airline pilot that thinks the Earth is flat. Says all his pilot friends think it's flat. says that they can't say anything because if they do, they'll lose their jobs. So it's on my channel. Also, the host, my co-host on the show that we have, Globebusters, is a pilot and has a pilot's license, flown many times in his life, and is a flat earther. So it's not just a matter of people have never been on a plane and think it. It's just even pilots that have spent their whole lives flying planes have never stopped and thought.
Is this person myopic? That's a legitimate question. Does this person? I mean, if they're myopic, then they might not be able to see the fact that on a clear sunny day, you are flying, you're cruising at 35,000 feet. You say you have no clouds in the sky. You can see the curvature of the Earth.
You need to do the math. The math does not say you can see the curvature at that height, and in fact,
actually it does.
Okay, well, I'm telling you,
you can look out any window of that plane, and you will see the horizon line come up to your eye level. You can look out the front, both sides, and the back, and the horizon line comes up to your eye level. That is impossible on a ball.
You're looking out at clouds. Are you not?
Plus, you're talking about something that has a great expanse. Okay, you're not gonna. It's a different story if you're looking at a blue rubber handball and looking at something as massive as the Earth. You're not going to be able to see that much of a curvature,
but
from
the
eye
Earth's
level.
Be falling away from you, not coming up to your eye level.
Why would the Earth be falling away?
Because if it was a ball, it's a continuous radius. It would be falling away. If you're up above it, it would be falling
Earth would
away.
So you're dismissing gravity at all? I mean, entirely. This is gravity is dismissed.
Hang on, Amy. Let's let George talk. I want to hear George.
Oh yeah, sure, absolutely.
Okay, gravity. You keep talking about gravity. Okay, do you know how much a gallon of water weighs? Sister?
A sister?
Yeah, what's your name? I didn't get your name.
Amy. Her name is Amy.
I'm not your sister, first off. My name is Amy.
Okay, Amy. Okay, honey. Okay, dear.
You don't call me honey or dear, sir.
Hey, people, civil.
Don't have that privilege.
Civil, people, civil. George, gallon of water.
Okay, Amy. Do you know how much a gallon of water weighs?
Right around 8.34. I would say pounds, 8.34 pounds, and that's
how gallons of water are in the ocean. Do you know? Thereabouts.
Well, I mean, do I know thereabouts on how many gallons of water there are in the ocean? Well, there are a lot of things to compensate for that, like atmosphere,
okay,
salinity.
It's uncountable. It's unmeasurable. So therefore, we've got millions and billions and trillions of tons of water that you're telling me gravity is pinning down to a spinning ball. But at the same time, that same force is also letting a little butterfly fly and letting me jump around. Gravity cannot pick and choose when it applies force. Gravity has to be at a constant pressure, at a constant force, or it does not exist.
Let me ask you a question.
It's gravity.
Did you ever see the New Horizons Pluto flyby?
No, everything from NASA is fake.
It's not. I can personally tell you it's not. I know people that work for NASA. I know people that work with all these agencies. I know an astronaut. He's shown me pictures of our round Earth and things that he took on his time in space, and he has no reason to lie to me.
Okay, wait.
Of course, that's anecdotal evidence, but
how was gravity pinning down billions and trillions of tons of water, and at the same time, gravity cannot pick and choose? Answer me that question. Gravity has to be pinning me down at all times, or it doesn't exist.
Okay, so okay.
The
gravity does not pin you down. First off,
water, liquid or fluid, only makes that straight flat line one way and one way only. Do you know how that is?
And listen. The burden of proof doesn't lie on me; it lies on you. You're the one that's making the negative comment. You're the one that's making the negative proposition here. I mean, you're saying.
Wait.
Start from the beginning.
Based on
Amy. Start with the beginning of you. Have you ever heard the story of the tortoise and the hare?
What does this even relate to? What is your analogy? What is the basis of your analogy?
Hang on, wait. We're straight.
I gotta go get another edible real quick. I'll be right back.
Oh God,
Amy,
Joe, lay off the edibles, man.
Hey, have you ever heard the story of the tortoise and the hare, Amy?
Dear God.
Answer me, please.
Dear God.
You know,
Answer
I think
me,
everyone
please.
has.
I only
What
know
does
the
that
version.
story mean to you?
I only know the version with Bugs Bunny and that really slow
It's-
talking like
Okay,
Mitch
what does that
McConnell.
story mean to you, Amy?
All it is a parable. I don't derive
I'm
any
not
spiritual
asking you
meaning
what's
from
the-
parables.
What does that story mean to you?
What does it mean to me? Is it it's just it's an old adage. That's all it is. It's a
Wait,
it's a
George,
parable and it's-
George. With all due respect, I think the
I'm
far
going
more.
somewhere with this.
Wait, George. I think the far more interesting question here is, what in the fuck does it mean to you?
Yes, indeed.
Let me tell you guys what that story's really about. That story's really about the sun and the moon chasing each other around right above your head, just as it appears, just as your eyes and senses tell you. And once a year, because you have one eclipse a year, it appears that the slower object overtakes the faster object. But that's not the case. That's an old esoteric story telling you you live on a flat, motionless plane and the sun and moon move around over the top of you.
There was also old esoteric stories that tell us that ogres exist.
Now, okay.
Are you claiming that they're rooted in
Yeah,
fact?
and
Now,
unicorns
now, Amy,
and
Now, Amy, baby girl, now you know what
And
that
the female orgasm.
I'm not your baby girl, okay?
baby doll. Hey, don't
I'm not your baby doll. You know what I think? You know what I think? Do you know the term Poe's law?
Hey, okay. Now, do you know what the yin yang?
No. Do you know what the term Poe's law
We're talking
means?
about flat Earth. We're not talking about Poe's law, dude.
No, this
Talking about
ties directly
flat Earth. What does yin
into
yang symbol-
George,
your
with
belief
George,
in
with,
flat Earth.
with all due respect,
Prepared it.
Poe's
The
law
yin yang
does.
symbol is the sun and the moon going around, up on top, right over your head, just as it appears, just as it seems to your eyes and senses. That's the Asian esoteric story of the sun and the moon going around over the top of you. Now you know what that means, Amy.
It's round.
That's what that means.
It's round.
No, it's a bent teardrop with a dot in it. And what it is, it's the sun and the moon making their light above you. So now you know what the tortoise and the hare story means, and now you know what the yin and the yang story means.
Actually, those
Amy?
have nothing to do with each other at all.
Okay,
that I can
now,
tell.
now let me ask you something else, Amy. Okay, we've all been in or on roller skates, skateboard, bicycle, motorcycle, car, truck, van, bus, big rig, train, boat, plane, hang glider, jet ski, surfboard, swing set, merry-go-round. When you're on or
sounds
in one of those,
practiced.
wait. When you're on or in one of those, you feel the motion. You detect the motion. Why is it that the Earth is the only thing you're on or in that you don't detect the motion on? Explain that to me.
Explain to me why you can't see the nose in front of your face. Do you know why? Do you know why? Do you have an idea why? It's because your brain filters that out.
Okay, no.
Your brain
explain to me about
filters it out.
the billions and trillions of tons of water that's getting pinned down by gravity. Explain to me why you can't feel the motion on all those things I just explained, from the roller skates all the way to the merry-go-round to the swing set. Why is the Earth the only thing you can't feel the motion on? Nobody in the history of the world
Let me
has ever
ask
felt the
you a question.
Earth move. No one's ever
Okay.
seen the curve with their eye.
Calm down. It's okay. It's okay. No, listen. Calm down.
Talk and jive around everything. Answer
I'm not.
the
You're
question.
talking jive around everything. You're not answering my questions. You're not.
Hang on.
Darling.
Allow me to intervene
Do
here.
me a kindness, man.
Hang on,
Okay.
hang on.
Let's talk about this.
Wait.
Sorry,
Amy,
Steve.
Amy, hang on. Guys, George, calm down.
Well, she stepped right in and started manipulating everything with her.
No,
mouth.
dude.
You wanted
Amy,
me to respond to you.
Amy,
You asked me a series of questions. I'm going to
Yes.
ask a series back. When you were on a small boat, say you're on something like a
Yes, I'm a
little
bass
bass boat,
fisherman.
a bass boat.
Bass fisherman. I'm the Bulgarian bass assassin.
That's great. Say you're on a bass boat and you experience choppy waters and everything. Do you feel the movement of that bass boat, say when you begin to take off? Yes, you do. Get into a boat that's a little bit bigger. Do you feel the water more or less when you begin to take off? And then now let's think of it like this. If you were on a cruise ship somewhere in the Caribbean, we'll just say, and you're on one of these things, are you going to feel the water as you would have if you were sitting in a bass boat? And now, of course, it's going to be making more waves in the water and things. You might get a little bit seasick from time to time,
That goes
just
back-
to the
That goes
just
back
because
to
it's
the
massive.
airplane. Yeah, when you're in an airplane and you're hauling ass at 600 miles per hour, it doesn't feel like you're doing 600 miles per hour, but you do sense the motion. You do feel the movement. You hear the movement. Why is the Earth the only thing that's allegedly, supposedly moving at these crazy diabolical speeds?
Because
that you
it's
cannot feel?
huge.
So,
It's huge.
Let me ask you one.
Yes. Let's let Jaren talk. Jaren, you are a soldier, sir, and you've been sitting there and you've been listening to all of this.
Yeah, I just have the question: if you're, in one breath you say that the Earth is so huge, but one of the proofs that all globe believers will go to is they say that we can see a boat go over the edge just 3 miles away. So you can't have both. Either the Earth is so huge that we don't see the curvature, or it's small, so we see boats go over the edge 3 miles away from
Now,
us.
these are two totally different
There is no
things in terms of
edge.
physics. One, you're talking about the visible horizon, and two, you're talking about feeling whether or not you were hurtling through space. And
I
when you're
talked
looking at
about
those two, well, maybe you weren't, but this is part of the dialogue of I guess the flat Earth hypothesis is that you have one and then you have this other thing. These seem like a bunch of ad hoc arguments, which, aside from the fact that you are arguing for flat Earth, these two are mutually exclusive claims. Do you see where I'm going here?
let me ask-
the fact that the horizon thing, that the way that you see a horizon, that's mutually exclusive from the fact that you say, that we must be on some flat Earth because we can't feel ourselves hurtling through space. Those are two different.
I didn't say that. They are two different things because somebody else was saying that, and then I asked you a question about the two differences being the Earth is so big that we can't see the curvature out of a 35,000-foot airplane, and the Earth is so small we see boats go over the curvature. Now, if you're talking about the speed thing, again, if we were going a constant speed, Amy, I'd be on board. If it was you're going 66,000 miles per hour at all times around the sun, but that's not the case. We're going 66,000 miles per hour, and you figure we're also spinning 1,000 miles per hour. So at one point, half the day, you're going 1,000 miles per hour less than you were earlier in the day when you were spinning towards the motion of the Earth. And then at the same time, we're also going 490,000 miles per hour. So now you've introduced multiple speeds, plus going 2.2 million miles per hour. So there is no constant speed. It's constantly changing. It's all over the place.
Is actually there is a constant speed, and the reason why you can't physically feel the fact that we are hurtling through space is because orbital speeds of Earth stay the same. We don't feel any acceleration or deceleration because it is a constant. You can only feel motion if speed changes.
I mean, that's great that you say that, but you need to have evidence and facts to back that. And that's
I do have evidence and facts to back that. I've got lots of science that seems to be rejected.
Wait. Hang on one
If
second.
that's the case, Amy, you would have perfectly 12-hour days and 12-hour nights. Why don't you?
That has to do with
when she said
slows down the spin
rotation
of the Earth, slows down the motion around the sun. Why don't you have perfect 12-hour days and 12-hour nights?
Because we have seasons. Okay, so look. Okay,
because
we're moving around the sun,
above a disk,
but the Earth is spinning.
It makes a circle above the disk at the equinox. It either moves north of the equinox and south of the equinox.
Okay, so back to basic elementary physics here. We're talking elementary school. The Earth spins. The Earth itself spins.
No one's ever
4 hours,
motion of the
give or
Earth.
take, and then you have the Earth that is, spinning around the sun.
Hang on. Do you believe, both of you? This question is for Jaren and George. Do you believe in space travel?
No, there's no such thing as outer space. There is only inner space inside this dome we live in.
So we live. Jaren, do you echo the point that we live inside of a dome?
No, just because I've never, like I said, I believe in things I can see, and no, I don't. I wouldn't know that though.
Okay, well, if you could see something,
I've seen the dome with my own eyes. I've seen the dome briefly for 2 or 3 seconds.
You saw the dome covering the Earth.
It was the biggest thing I've ever seen in my life. Yes, last year at roughly around this time. I seen the dome and I seen how the stars work. All the stars are connected from behind. With the best way I could describe it is with translucent spiderweb tubes, and they all move as one together.
the stars are not connected from behind by translucent spider web tubes. We have telescopes. We have Hubble right now. We're supposed to have the James Webb telescope on board soon. These are telescopes sitting in outer space, seeing objects outside of Earth. There are no gossamer strings holding these things together.
Light years is another cockamamie term that these scientists, pseudoscientists, came up with to cover their asses. There's no such thing as light years.
Hang on.
The planets, the sun, the moon, and the stars are roughly between 1,000 and 5,000 miles away from us. We don't know exactly quite yet. We're working on it.
All right, hang on a second.
There's no such thing as light years.
Hang on a second, because here's something.
A light year is just a measure.
Space is not infinite.
It's measurement.
Space is not infinite.
Okay, listen. This, to me, this sounds from correct me if I'm wrong, but this flat Earth thing sounds like a lot of conspiracy theory jargon thrown together to prove a point. Okay? I keep hearing that they don't want us to go to Antarctica. They don't want us to do this. They don't want us to do that.
Or the North Pole, for that matter.
They
North
don't want
Pole
us
is where Mount Meru is and where Polaris is, and that's the source of the power of the sun.
Mount Meru.
Well, see, now you lost me, because how do you explain Santa Claus?
See? How do you explain
Santa Claus is eating magic mushrooms, dude, and flying around on reindeer that eat mushrooms.
Okay, so, but wait, seriously speaking.
Okay,
Man.
so
wait, hang on. I got to get this out. Who out there really knows the truth? Why is this being covered up, and what are they gaining? You know, who is this? Who are these people behind
the
this
Freemasons, the Zionists, the Jesuits?
Oh my fucking God!
Yes, Steve. I know this sounds ludicrous. I know this sounds preposterous. I know this sounds outlandish. But yes, this has been
the Jesuits
that's been in for the past ever since Egypt fell. You think Egypt fell 2,000 years ago? No, Egypt just fell 500 to 1,000 years ago. They lie about the timelines. They lie about everything. As soon as Egypt fell, as soon as the honkies, quote unquote, took over Egypt, they came to take over the rest of the world through City of London, Vatican City, and Washington, D.C.
But wait.
That's who runs the world.
But wait.
America's still a colony of England.
Wait, so who can I... Wait, hold on. So what about recorded history then?
You guys should know, if anybody, that history is just the winner's story, right? His story. And how could that be surprising if in, let's say, 1850...
Well, there are things that have occurred during history that can easily be backed up.
Okay, so let me just ask you a question. Let's go back recent, 1850.
That's recent? It's fucking...
Okay. I mean, you're talking about thousands of years. I'm just saying, let's go back to 1850 where everybody rode horses, and that's how the news got to the rest of the country. Okay. So if something happened in Washington and they wanted to tell the entire country, don't you think they could make up whatever they wanted and then send the horses out with the news?
The same could be said for anything or anyone.
I have a question.
The same could be said for the Bible. You know, who wrote that? Was it really God? I don't know. I don't think so.
What I'm saying is that that's part of what we don't think about. We don't think about that our history is simply the story of the winners.
Because but with history, there are events that have taken place. That there's both visual history, there's residual history, there's
So do you think we have books from like 200 AD and 400 AD? You think there's books?
All the books are under Rome right now. They're under the Vatican. All of our history, they all got taken from the Library of Alexandria when Egypt fell, and they all in Rome, and all them boys in England and Rome, they all took all of our history from around the world. That's what the Inquisition was. That's what the Crusades was to force Jesus on everybody and take everybody's knowledge.
Them goddamn crackers.
Well, it was it was the church that wanted to kill people for believing in a round Earth.
Absolutely. Nobody's disagreeing with you there. We're just saying that all of our books have been rewritten around 1600 1700, which is conveniently the same time Copernicus
Council of
his model.
Nicaea.
Okay,
Council of
wait.
Nicaea. That's when they rewrote the New Testament, the Old Testament.
Wait.
We're not even getting in the Bible. Let's get back to flat Earth.
Wait. No.
Which one of your senses leads you to believe you're in motion, Amy? Okay? Which one of your senses?
Wait.
Since you got 5 senses, which one of your senses leads you to believe you're in motion?
We have more than 5 senses.
We have more than 5 of them. I know.
There are an entire massive network of peripheral nerves
Good.
in our
Which one
bodies
okay, which
that
one of yours tells you you're in motion right now? Tell me. Between your
you're
eyes,
not going to feel that you're in motion right now. That's why I'm saying there's no.
You from roller
Okay, the
skate,
Earth doesn't
hand
put on
like
the
jet
brakes.
skis. You
Okay, if
feel
you're going to
the-
ask a question, you're going to have to shut up and listen to me. Okay? If you're going to ask a question, you're going to have to shut your lips and let me speak. Okay? I'll give you this. I respect you to allow you to speak, but when you ask me a question, you're just going to have to shut the hell up and listen. Okay? All right. What sense of mine makes me feel like I'm in motion right now? That the answer to that is none. I don't feel like I'm in motion right now because there is no magical brake or anything. Nobody's put the brakes on Earth, and I don't feel any deceleration. Just as when you're sitting in a car, you feel deceleration. When you are accelerating in a car, when you're accelerating past a constant speed, then you feel motion. But typically, if you're just cruising around at, say, 30 miles per hour for a couple of hours, you're not really going to notice.
Okay. What part of water only lays flat? Water, liquid, or fluid only lays flat if it's in its own container. What part don't you understand about that? So when you look at the ocean and you see that straight flat line, that tells you you don't live on a spinning ball.
I don't see a straight flat line.
Oh, you don't? Everybody does?
Are you blind to the fact that we have waves?
At the horizon line, not right at your feet. When you look out into the ocean, you see a straight flat line from one end to the other.
I see movements. I see movement. Do you not believe in ocean currents?
No, water only lays flat.
So you don't believe in a current, in any ocean currents, and the fact that, there are entire species of coral that they survive based upon the idea that the ocean has currents.
You just double talk jive. Okay, listen, if I was to yes, in a bunch of different vessels, in a bunch of different containers, in a bunch of different cups, they would all make that straight flat line. You only get that straight flat line as if that water, liquid, or fluid is in its own container.
Okay, so what happens when you put...
If you poured water on the ground, it would float to its lowest point. Water cannot push itself up a mountain, up a hill. And if we lived on a spinning ball, that water would come
up the
land. It would find every single nook and cranny, and then it would come rushing out. But it doesn't do that.
You've never seen tide? I mean, I've seen water break against the land plenty of times, dude.
Let me just say something real quick to everybody listening, and just
when you look at the horizon, the water is straight and flat, and there's no bow.
George, that's
if
your
your corner of your eyes would bow down significantly.
But you have
so why are you so upset about this flat Earth revelation? If this is something that is such a good revelation to you, wouldn't you be happy about it?
Yeah, when I found out the Earth was flat and motionless, and I was so pissed off that I've been lied to, I swore up and down that I'm going to tell everybody with half a brain, half a heart, half a soul that they do not live on a spinning ball. They live on a flat, motionless plane, and I'm going to make
what are the implications?
I'm going to make it the rest of my life's work to do so.
What are the implications of that, though? What is the importance?
We're the center of the universe. Everything revolves around us. They want us to make us think that we're a little speck of sand diabolically floating into space, into nowhere. Where's this ball going, Amy? Is it just floating into space to nowhere? Where's it going?
It's not going anywhere. We go. God, listen.
We are locked to our binary star.
Thank you.
And the galaxies are migrating, but you don't feel that. There are intergalactic collisions going on.
Hang on a second. I want Jaron to talk because he's been trying to break in with something. Go ahead, Jaron.
Well, I just wanted to say, just for everybody listening, the goal of this conversation should be look into it. Period. And I would, if anybody believes any word that comes out of my mouth, you're a fool, because that's what got us into this problem. Is we just sat around school and thought everything that was told to us was for the benefit of our growth, our mental, acuity, and that's not the case. So I'm just telling people that you should probably think about all the things that people have told you, and you should go and verify them. And when you do that, like I did, you will realize that what they told us was science is simply mathematical equations. They're simply words. They're not reality.
Not really. I mean, what have you done to verify this is some sort of a truth to you?
You can go out and look for Polaris.
George, let Jaron talk, buddy.
Yeah.
I would bet anybody anything that boats do not ever go over any curvature. Now, if you take any video, go to YouTube and look at any single video of a boat going over the so-called edge, watch it very carefully with your eyes open, with actually putting your bias aside, and watch the boat do what you think it does, and realize that the boat just continues off and gets smaller and smaller and smaller. You think it's going over the edge because we were all taught that. We were all taught that boats would fall off the edge of a flat Earth. We were all taught, how could you fly around a flat Earth? It's impossible. If it was in school that they took us aside and said, well, there could be this ice wall here at the edge, and we actually can fly east or west and go around the Earth. So, for instance, if it is a globe, if it is a globe, there would be all kinds of accounts of north-south navigation. There's not.
I know a girl who has circumnavigated the Earth in a sailboat.
I just said that. Did she go north-south? Did she cross the North Pole and the South Pole?
Nope.
No. You can go around the Earth, Amy, in a picture a clock.
Wait, if you could go around the Earth, doesn't that make the Earth
are like
round?
Pangea?
No, it's like a clock. Imagine a clock. And
okay, where is Antarctica in this?
It's the edge. It's the outer wall. But we don't know if that's all the way around, if there's certain sections of it that are possibly open. No, we wouldn't know that.
Actually, we do. We have people that live and work in Antarctica all the time, and I have friends that have.
Okay, and that doesn't mean
it even claim to fly under Antarctica. You know that? No one's even claimed to fly under Antarctica. We fly over the North Pole all the time, but no one's ever claimed to fly under the bottom of the Earth. No one's even ever
Yes, they have. They do it all of the time.
They do it all the time. The
world record. McMurdo.
Amy.
Hold on. The world record for north-south navigation. The person left North Carolina, went down to Brazil, went from Brazil to the 90-degree marker, then went back to Brazil, Brazil to New Zealand, New Zealand to Hawaii, Hawaii to Alaska, to the North Pole, and back to North Carolina. That's what they call circumnavigation. So
what do you think is on the back of this flat Earth?
What do you mean the back?
Well, I mean, if it's a flat Earth, it's got to have a backside, right? What is on Earth's ass?
That's what you've been told. This is what I'm trying to say.
No, I want to know what is on Earth's ass.
Well, what I'm trying to explain to you is that's the way you were taught flat Earth. So you're acting very proud of yourself, like you know it all.
I'm not. I'm very curious.
Okay, and I'm trying to tell you that just because somebody taught you a certain method of flat Earth or a picture of it in your mind, that's not the way it would naturally work. The Earth is all what there is. So if you're saying what's on the underside of the Earth, the Earth is all there is. So there is no underside. You've been taught space, so you think something's on top and on bottom and on the left and right. If the Earth is where we are, and you have to realize this, you guys are into paranormal things, that the Earth, you've heard it talked about as a matrix before. Sorry, what's his name?
Keanu Reeves?
No, Tesla. Sorry, I was losing my mind. Tesla even said the Earth is not a planet, it's a realm. And he absolutely is right. The Earth is not a planet. It's not a place in space. It's a realm. We are here as spiritual entities acting out a physical existence. And we have people who are in charge of us, our governments, who have figured out a way to lie to you on the most massive scale possible.
For what reason?
For what gain, though?
To what
because
end?
They're in power. That's anytime somebody has any kind of a hold over you, if they know something you don't know, they are in power.
So you're saying that they're not letting us know the Earth is flat because they're dicks?
Well, here's what I honestly think, if you want to know my opinion.
Yes, I genuinely do.
Okay, science at some point, let's say it was 1600, whenever, they saw boats, what they thought were going over the curvature. Because in order to see that they're not, you need to zoom in with the equipment we have today, P90X cameras. You need to, super zoom cameras. Back in Galileo's day, they didn't have the optics to see what actually was happening with the boats. So I would have done the same thing. You see boats look like they go over the edge. Your only summation from that is the Earth's a ball. Now, then they made a big deal about it, and I even thank science for this. They made sure that the church didn't continue to hold over and hold down people. So they took off with science. The church went their separate way. They even agreed with science on some of these things, right? And then at some point when science realized that they had made a mistake, there is no way out for science. They can't come out and say, oops.
Actually, that's not the way science works.
I know that you think that. Let me explain what I'm saying, and then
I know that I know that. That's
great.
The way.
That's fantastic. You think that science
not just my prerogative.
You think science would come out and say in 1900, oops, we were wrong. The Earth is flat. The church was right. You know what would happen to every
You
single
think
scientist?
science is just a giant body or entity or school of belief or dogma, and it's not. It's full of a bunch of people who are curious. And if there is any idea, any proof, any kind of evidence of a flat Earth, people will want to study it. They will want to take a look at it. It's not because science has a staunch belief in one particular thing or the other. Scientists are not the bad guys here. The idea though is that we live on a flat.
Bill Nye are bad guys. Absolutely. Neil deGrasse Tyson and Bill Nye are bad guys. They sure are.
Why do you believe that?
They're up there lying through their fucking teeth. Do you know the first time the globe appeared, Amy? Do you know what time
I personally disagree with that.
The people on Earth figured out when a globe is, when the first time they ever heard or seen a globe? Do you know what year that was? Tell me.
You want me to tell you I can't,
time
because it dates back. It predates the Middle Ages.
No,
it dates all the way back into Greece.
Well,
yes, it does.
Let me tell you.
Yes, it does.
Let me tell you when the first year a globe appeared. 1493, darling.
Well, I'm not your darling, and that's not true.
That's the first year after Columbus. Supposedly, that fucking Jesuit Freemason Knights Templar discovered the new America. How can you discover something?
You forgot Honky this time.
Yeah, you totally forgot Honky.
Yeah. So that's when the first time the Earth and people and science.
Actually, no, it was around the 6th century BC, as far as we can tell. That was with Pythagoras.
No, it was after the church and after the Holy Roman Empire took everything over, and all their little pseudoscientists like Pythagoras and Galileo and all them other boys put the Earth in motion and made it round.
Wait, you think Pythagoras was Roman Catholic? Am I hearing this correctly?
Yeah, I get the names mixed up between Ptolemy and
No, I mean this is a really big deal because back then the Roman Catholic Church was not around.
The point I'm making is the first time anybody ever heard of a globe was 1493. Look it up.
No, that's not. I'm asking you to look it up right now. Spherical Earth, 6th century BC.
Okay, but remember what we talked about earlier, that those books have all been rewritten. So I understand what they have done to fool us, and of course they're going to tell you that.
No, they haven't been rewritten. They've been readapted to other mediums.
Okay, back to that.
These are things that are on tablets.
400 AD.
I'm sure that you can walk into a museum and find these records.
Okay, find me one of those, because you're very confused.
I don't have to find you one though, because the burden of proof is on you. Do you understand what the burden of proof is in an argument?
Here's what I want to know. Hang on. Everyone stop a second, okay?
Let me just say that I understand the burden of proof, and that's why I am in the position I'm in now, because I went to science, who has told us all these things, and we were taught how great science was with the scientific method and how science works, and they go through peer review. Wow, it sounds fantastic as a kid. So anything that they tell you science has discovered, you immediately say is a fact. That's the way we were taught. Now, not
necessarily. No, they're theories, but these theories can constantly be challenged.
Okay, absolutely.
Science is not supposed to be dogmatic. It's not supposed to be polarizing. It's supposed to be, this thing where you have natural scientific curiosity, and I sense it in you. I sense that you have some natural scientific curiosity, and I encourage you to go out and to find every single thing that you can find that proves yourself wrong. Otherwise, if you go out attempting to prove that you are right, then all you will seek and find is confirmation bias.
Okay, so let me explain something from that. Let me speak. Let me speak on that. So what you just described is perfect, but there's a difference between the person who goes around like you and just repeats what science
I'm not going around and repeating what science has already told me. I'm telling you my observations. My anecdotal observations have led me to think and to know that the Earth is round and spherical. And it's because, I don't believe that there's some massive government conspiracy that's been going on since the Council of Nicene. I don't believe that, when it comes to spherical Earth. And I would have to believe that there was some sort of conspiracy that's been going all the way back to ancient Greece. I would have to look at.
It doesn't have anything to do with going back that far. And
I would have to look up in the night sky with a telescope and say that what I am seeing in the night sky is a deception. I can see the arc of the Milky Way, spanning the entirety of my viewable area of the night sky with my own 2 eyes. And I can also see it with the assistance of a telescope. I can see these objects in the sky. I can see objects moving from point A to point B.
Yeah,
Objects
not-
getting larger
you're not
and fading
moving, the
away.
stars
These are
are.
not things that are on Gossamer string that are magically appearing here and there. You know, it's like, you know, sometimes people who live in the southernmost areas in the southern hemisphere will see different stars than the people who see stars in the northern hemisphere.
Hey, George.
And it's because
Amy, what part of a time-lapse photo don't you understand that you have to be
George, listen.
I
Wait,
have-
both
I
of you.
asked for
Hang on,
photography.
hang
You have
on.
to get-
Hang
okay, well,
on.
then you should understand this.
I'm gonna.
Hey,
All right,
I do
stop it.
understand this because
Stop it.
when you open a shutter,
All right, I'm gonna mute everyone on Skype. I'm gonna mute everyone on Skype.
Blur.
I'm gonna mute
The
everyone on
stars will
Skype.
blur.
Listen
explain
to me.
You have
No,
to
George, hush. George, hush.
Okay.
Amy, hush. This is not about condescending here, okay? There's a lot of condescension and I get it. It's a heated topic, and everybody has their own strong feelings about it. Some will support it this way, some will support it that way, whatever. We're not here to down each other and make somebody look silly. We're here to talk about this, okay? People will draw their own conclusions from what they hear. And the purpose of this show, as Jaron stated, is to spark people's curiosities and invite and always challenge what you believe or you don't believe.
Very
That
good.
being said,
Well, you know, it seems
Okay,
like
can I
on
say
one
something?
hand we have one person who seems to want to challenge these dogmatic beliefs that they might have in something, and on another, it seems that we have closed-mindedness. And when closed-mindedness is espoused, I attempt to get across a point. I'm met
haven't made
with
a point.
I'm met with attack.
yes,
And,
yes.
you know,
and
it's-
that is going to stop.
And I can't, you know, I can't abide by that.
yes,
That's
that is going to stop.
I will not choose to engage that form of discussion any longer.
Yes, that has to stop. Now, George,
Yes.
calm down. I know you're excitable. Calm down. Okay.
Yes.
I have a question for you, George.
Okay.
You saw the mythical dome, correct?
Yes, sir.
Is the dome round?
Yes, it's a half circle, like a dome.
So the dome is round.
It's like a half circle. It's not a complete. The only part that I seen was it looked like it was circular. It was round. Yes.
Can I ask if this is like in a dream, or where do you mean you saw it?
No,
George, you got your own people here thinking you're a fucking nut, dude.
No,
I didn't say that.
he asked the question.
Okay,
So
George.
stargazing one night, all of a sudden these white rings were appearing in front of my eyes, like a couple of inches in front of my eyes, and I didn't think much of it, and I kept stargazing. Well, I put down my binoculars this one time, and those little white rings were plastered up against this dome. The best way I could describe it was this huge dome, and what I took away from this was, from the last point where I could see light, like a street light or like a house light or an airplane light, there was a huge black space of just nothing before this dome started.
Okay,
Once
George.
it started, it came up in all directions, all the way, and right before it got up to zenith, straight up and down, it made this
George.
this curve, this distinctive curve, right almost at zenith.
George. Now,
Yes.
here's where you're getting a little foggy, all right, dude? You're saying it seemed to me, right? That's how you perceived it, okay?
Yes.
That doesn't mean it's a fact. That doesn't mean
Okay.
we're under a dome, okay? All that means is you saw things in that manner. And here's the thing. You can sit there and you could rattle your bones and thump your Bible or whatever it is, but if all you're talking about is your interpretation, how it seemed to you.
Yeah, no, I've seen this with my own eyes.
Okay,
so
but you know what? But you're interpreting what you saw. That doesn't mean
Yes.
that doesn't mean what you saw is what
It's
you
fact.
thought it
Yeah,
was.
It's fact. Absolutely. That's my own opinion. I could sit here on record and say I seen the dome and I seen how the stars work.
Well, then he's got it because it's fact because it's his opinion.
No, it's not. I never said it was fact. I just said.
You just said it was a fact.
No, I said that's
Oh,
what
my
I
Lord.
seen. I could say in my own eyes, I could go and write a book and go and stay in front of people, stand up in front of people and say, I seen the dome with my own eyes. Yes, I did.
But that doesn't. I could go out right now and tell people that I'm a reptile. And
Okay,
if I
understand what
believe
you're
I'm a
saying. I understand what
reptile,
you're saying.
then I'm a fucking
Use a reptilian
reptile.
shapeshifter, better watch out.
I am a reptilian
Okay.
shapeshifter.
Can I ask Amy a question?
All right. This is going to be your last question.
If you'll allow me to answer a question.
Yes,
Okay.
this will be your last question, George, because then I want to get into a little bit with Jaren.
Okay. Polaris, that is the pole star that has never, ever, ever moved. Okay, the only way you could take a time-lapse photo or video of Polaris is if you're stationary and the stars around Polaris are moving. It can't be the other way around. You can't be moving and the stars around Polaris be stationary.
Actually, Polaris is not stationary.
Yes, it is. You can go there every night and look at Polaris and look at all the stars revolve around Polaris. So therefore, I'm telling you,
It's
Earth,
not stationary.
The tilted Earth would have to be mimicking, Polaris would have to be mimicking every single movement of the Earth through all of its four motions. Remember, it's spinning, it's going around the sun, it's at the outer arms of the Milky Way, it's blasting away from the Big Bang. Polaris, I don't understand what you don't understand about a time-lapse photo is you have to be stationary, and the thing you're time-lapse photoing has to be moving.
George,
That's the only way it works.
how do you account for people following the North Star?
What do you mean? The North Star never moves. It's never moved in the history of mankind.
In any basic navigation, dude, you follow the North Star.
It never moves, and every star
Look.
revolves around Polaris every single night.
So Polaris it's also it's moving at pretty much the
Now tell
same
me
speed
Polaris-
as the direction of the sun.
Wait a second. You're the only person I've ever heard say Polaris is moving.
Well,
No.
actually, I'm not the only person on Earth that says Polaris is moving. There's a lot of experimental cosmology, a lot of astronomy, a lot of.
No.
Let me ask you a question. Do you own a telescope?
I own binoculars, yes.
Okay. Do you get yourself a really good telescope? No, I'm kidding. I'm not kidding. This is very serious. Get yourself a telescope and track the stars. Track the movement of the
do.
stars.
I do.
No, I'm not talking about doing it with a
What-
sextant.
what-
I'm talking about, getting an actual telescope and tracking the stars. There are really good telescopes out there that will move and adjust based on the position you are on Earth to show where certain star systems are. It'll tell you to what degree they appear to be moving in your general area
No,
from
they
your
don't
point of
appear to
view.
be moving. They are moving. The stars are moving. We're stationary. The stars are not stationary.
Okay, George, thank you so much for calling in tonight. We're getting ready to wrap up. I want to do a little bit longer with Amy and Jaren, but thank you. I really appreciate you calling in, brother.
Right on. Thank you.
And we will
Thank
have-
you, Steve. Thank you, Jaron. Hey, if you're ever in San Diego, Jaron, look me up. I want to talk to you. There's a couple things I want to talk to you. Steve, I'll keep in contact with you. Take care. Amy, take care. All you did is mumbo jumbo, double talk and jive. You didn't answer nothing about nothing. Take care.
I feel left out. He forgot about me.
Oh, I didn't. Oh, who was that? Was that Johnny?
Yeah, Johnny.
Hey, Johnny.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
this
gone.
is Johnny, man. I have half a brain. That's the people you want to talk to about this, you said. So,
Hey,
look me up, Johnny.
Jaren, are you still with us?
I am.
Okay.
You warned me about the show. So
Yes.
Are we
Okay.
back?
So we're back. Okay.
Okay.
George is gone. With him,
Can we have a reasoned discussion now?
with him, he takes every fucking ounce of my patience and everything. Okay. Quiet now. Jaren, Amy, how are you guys?
Doing great.
Okay.
Oh, I've had better days. You know my story today. I got out of the hospital today, and I'm pending surgery. So you You know what's going on with me, Steve, and I'm just trying to hang in there.
Okay, so in the God, in the spirit of good sportsmanship, let's continue on.
And let me just say about George's.
All right, what do
thought
you
about the
think
dome.
about what George said? Because you got to admit, he's saying some pretty fucking out there shit.
Well, here's the thing: when people come to this realization, and it's not something. Mind you, that in order for somebody to change their beliefs. Now, remember, we went to school, we learned about the globe. We know it's scientific. We know scientists all say that, and it's got all this evidence that backs it, right? But at some point, if you have ever changed your mind to believing that the Earth is flat, you've had to adopt now what people consider stupid. They call you moron, idiot, everything, the R word. You get called every name in the book. And if you just go online, you'll be able to see from YouTube, I could show you thousands of emails from people who have changed their belief from believing in a globe to believing the Earth is flat. So just think about how much evidence there would have to be on the side of the flat Earth and how much wrong there would have to be with the globe model in order to get people to switch that belief.
Okay.
Well, the same thing exists in religion as well. And I do want to point out, and this is not saying anything bad about you. I don't know what you believe in or what you don't, aside from flat Earth. But the leader of Boko Haram has adopted the flat Earth theory as well. So there you have someone who is obviously religious extremist in some of the worst ways, buying into this idea of a flat Earth. So I wouldn't use that example, of people, so many people seeing this idea and changing their beliefs to something like that. That would be probably a bad example to draw off of. I'm just saying.
Well, I'm just saying that you have to understand that it takes a lot of evidence in order for somebody to change their beliefs. Now, I understand that people are bad in every religion and every walk of life. George Bush is a Christian, right? But he's, bombs countries, and so he doesn't care about people. And so that means nothing to me. And I'm not religious.
Neither am I.
Neither am I.
Besides the fact that I do believe that there's no possible way that the scientific explanation works, especially when things like evolution are not founded by actual science. It's a theory, and sure, you can go back and say the Earth is as old as you want to say, and I don't know how old the Earth is, so... my only thought now is when I looked at some of these things and went and looked for the evidence of them, and I understand because Amy is speaking exactly like I would have 2 years ago. She's saying things that she's heard throughout her life and that she may have even studied, because guess what? This is a deception. So if you go looking on the internet for the answer, you're going to find the answer that they put there for you. Meaning, if you what this guy's saying that Polaris doesn't move, I'm going to go look it up. And you go look it up.
No,
and you say,
actually, I've sat there and I've tracked the movement of stars with people. I don't. Please don't mistake me as being, just somebody who, I personally, I study the biomedical sciences. I study the neurosciences. I have a lot of friends who are experimental cosmologists, astrobiologists, astrophysicists, and, people that I've tagged along with, doing star watching things. And one of my most favorite things to do is in the summer, pretty much any time of the year, is to go somewhere in the high desert, away from lights completely, and I like to sky watch for hours at a time. And I do a lot of astrophotography. I know that what I get in the end, when you do a long exposure shot, of course, you want to be able to capture the furthest stars away from Earth. And when you do that, the longer you leave your shutter open, the more you have to compensate in post by taking and re-overlapping the images in a certain way so that it doesn't appear that that these things are just blurry streaks. And so how do you get these blurry streaks? Well, you get these blurry streaks, which happen because the Earth is spinning. And, as the Earth is spinning, as the Earth, as the world turns, as they say, you get these streaks in the sky, because you've got this long exposure. And when I first saw that, when I first did astrophotography, I thought, okay, well, I'm just going to point my camera up at the sky and I'm going to get this beautiful shot of the Milky Way because I can see a whole lot with my bare eyes. And I took this picture. I said, man, this looks blurry as hell. How did they do it? And then I figured out, I am actually seeing the Earth turning through doing astrophotography,
That's good.
and
I'm
that
glad
that,
that
was really awesome to me. That was, if there were an aha moment, if I didn't believe by then, not just from what I was taught in school or what I was meant to read and other things, I have people who I have friends who not only are they experimental cosmologists and astrobiologists and astronomers and things, I have friends that work in NASA. One of my very, very good friends, I've worked with him for almost 10 years now. He was an astronaut on one of the missions before the Columbia disaster. He was, I think that he was on Endeavour. I want to say it was Endeavour he was on. That was one of the last space flights before Columbia had the disaster, and he went up there to work on the Canada arm, the robotic arm, and of course he likes to show off all his photos, kind of like you go on a really cool vacation. Well, he had the vacation of a lifetime. And, just to meet people and speak with people who have been in space, there's a certain kind of, I don't know what it is, some sort of a spiritual experience that happens when people go to space and they see, oh my God, here I am, hurtling around, the Earth going, I don't know exactly how many miles per hour, but pretty damn fast. And seeing all these things, being able to see whole countries, as this globe is turning, and as the ISS is going to town. So I know people who have been up there, and anecdotally, I have no reason to think that they're trying to pull a Santa Claus on me here. I have no reason to think that these people are lying to me. They don't exhibit those particular traits, and the fact that if we really did have some sort of a flat Earth, that would be the biggest conspiracy ever. And if that were the case, then we would have people coming out, after 60 or so years saying, I worked to cover up the flat Earth conspiracy. Now, when we're looking at conspiracy too, there's something that I did want to touch upon.
Let me just ask one thing about that.
Sure.
Do you think that the media is actually free to report whatever they want, or do you think that the media, the big media, is controlled by and paid for, bought and paid for?
Well, I do know that the mainstream media, to an extent, is bought and paid for because they have sponsors. And, if you followed this past primary election, I don't know whose side you were on, but it's absolutely plain to see that media over here, and even when I was spending a lot of time in the UK, that there's this spin, and it all has to do with who's padding whose pocket. There's a lot of unscrupulous things that happen with the mainstream media, which is why when I choose to report science news, I go direct to the journal sources, and sometimes I phone up the scientists themselves and say, hey, if I understand correctly, this is what you're asserting, and that. To me, that's really important. I don't like getting my news from the mainstream media. I like getting it direct from, the engineers, the researchers, the people that are working on these projects.
Right. Good. I was just hoping that because, if somebody did ever come out and say, hey, I've been covering up the flat Earth, that would not make national news. They would sweep it under the rug. They're not going to let that kind of information.
I'm sure, unfortunately, too much stuff gets swept under the rug. But Jaron, I wanted to ask you. I know what George's answer was because I firmly believe he's batshit nuts. What are your thoughts on space travel? Do you not think that we've gone to space?
No, not. There's no such thing as space like we were taught. And the reason I'll say that is because, a lot of people will say the globe matches our observations. Amy just said that, right? The globe matches her observations. But the closest star is 25 trillion miles away. Now, just that alone is impossible for you to ever comprehend. You cannot imagine 25 trillion miles. It's so far out of your realm of any ability to imagine that. Now, the farthest star that we can see with our unaided eye, no telescope, is 95 quadrillion miles away. Okay, so that's just something somebody told you. Anybody who says that matches their observation, I would say that person's batshit crazy because it simply doesn't. Now, it may be true. Let's say it's true. Well, okay, then it's true, but it certainly cannot be something that somebody can say matches their observation, because if one star is 25 trillion and the other one is 95 quadrillion, then they should be changing positions, but that's not how the stars work. right? And as far as Polaris, I wanted to go back to that point. When you say it moves, you're talking about moving in your sky throughout the year, right?
Well, it moves.
I'm talking about moving in general, and not
Yes.
just through our sky and our observations here on Earth. I'm talking about, when we have our space telescopes, the ones that are not sitting here on Earth capturing that data. I mean, what about other, space probes? Do you think that we invented new horizons? Do you believe that the idea that we've landed unmanned vehicles on Mars is also a lie?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Why do you distrust that so much?
Because I have a telescope, and when I look at Mars, Mars is a light in the sky. Somebody has told me that it's a planet, that it's a sphere, that it has a surface that can be landed on, that it's a certain size. But those things cannot be backed up by some other source. It's pretty much NASA and math. Yeah, their math works. Of course.
Look, if you've got a telescope, you can see that Mars rotates.
Okay.
Well, hang on a second, Jaron. I mean, for that matter, you keep saying that these are what we've been told. This is what we've been taught.
Right.
I mean, in a sense, doesn't the same thing apply to what you believe?
No,
I mean,
because-
isn't this something that you've been told and you've been taught? And what exactly makes one argument much more compelling than the other? Is the Earth flat? I don't fucking know. Do I believe it's flat? Absolutely not. And I have at least what I perceive as authorities backing up what I believe. Whereas flat earthers primarily, they have each other,
So,
and that's
they have
where
their
this
eyes and their
knowledge.
senses, and that's why I tell everybody you shouldn't be believing me. That is the worst thing to do. What I ask you to do is go look at a boat going over the curvature.
But wait a
Try and
second.
measure. There is no curvature on the Earth. You cannot
Well,
measure.
if I can interject here for just a moment, I'd like to touch upon this 23 trillion miles and not being able to imagine that.
Mhm.
I dated a chick once, and I'm fairly certain that's the distance from her outer labia to her cervix.
Hot dog and all.
So, all right.
Okay, so something I wanted to ask, Sharon. Do you know what skywave is? Are you aware of what skywave is?
No, unless you're talking about like an online.
No. This refers to the propagation of radio waves reflected or refracted back toward the Earth from the ionosphere, key element sphere. And basically what it is, like when you have radio signals, and I know this because I worked in radio for a little while, doing, I was working with terrestrial affiliates and terrestrial sales, trying to get, the best radio stations to adopt a particular show. And part of my job was that I would look at daytime and nighttime patterns. The FCC would say some of these people have to power down at a certain time of night so as that they don't overtake or infiltrate the radio waves. But basically, with AM, let's back up a little bit. With FM, FM radio waves cannot go through mountains. They cannot go through other terrain. So if you have an area, say you have a town that is surrounded by a mountain range, and you can put a tower up, kind of on the highest point, you're still going to have some issues with, like, say, a daytime or a nighttime pattern if you have other mountain ranges that are close by, which might be taller. So with that, there are limitations to broadcasting on FM and AM. But the reason why a lot of people a lot of late night talk radio hosts love AM is because of this phenomena known as skywave. Basically what it is that AM radio signals get bounced off the ionosphere and they scatter. And it, again, key word here, sphere. If we lived on a flat Earth, even if we had, an atmosphere, it would not react in the same way. It would not distribute.
When you say that, you're coming across very much like it can be nothing else. Have you ever heard of Echo 1? Do you know the satellite Echo 1 that they put in the sky? It's a big...
I'm not quite familiar with Echo 1.
Okay, it's a 100-foot spherical metallic balloon that they put up in 62, and NASA has been launching 50 helium balloons a day. Okay, 50 balloons a day go up into the sky from NASA, and they also have drone planes that last 5 years and fly at 65,000 feet, and they don't come down for 5 years, and they run completely on solar. So just because you think that that's there's no other way that radio waves could be bounced back to the Earth than if they hit the ionosphere. They could easily be bouncing off of an actual sphere, a balloon sphere, one of these drone planes that's acting as a satellite, propagation bouncer. But I mean, there's just a lot of different ways that things can be done. And this is the whole thing about flat Earth. It's about zetetic science, right? And what George was saying earlier isn't really zetetic because he's describing something he sees. I've never seen that. So it's not something we usually bring up as something like that can't be verified. What I'm trying to tell people is to do your own research, because when you look at the verification, you will find out exactly what's going on here, that there is no verification that any of the things NASA says is true. Now, yes, your friend told you he went to space. But
on the other side of the coin, isn't there no verification that what you said is true?
We have video.
And video's never been faked before, or photos?
You're not going to make it to that level. And something I did want to point out in terms of your solar spacecraft, the longest time that a solar craft has been in the sky is 16 and a half months. And that was when it circumnavigated the Earth. That was Solar Impulse 2, and that was back between 2015 and 2016. So it went around the Earth, it circumnavigated the Earth, and that was over 17 stages of 16 and a half months. So, you don't have solar planes up for years at a time. I don't know where you quite got that idea.
I'll find the name of the company right now, but Google actually bought the company that has solar-powered drones that fly for 5 years. So...
They could potentially fly for 5 years, but they haven't yet flown for 5 years. This is a relatively new technology.
You're talking about that big plane that flew around the world?
I'm talking about Solar Impulse 2.
Okay, and they also have balloons. How long do you think balloons can stay up for?
I have no personal idea how long any type of balloon can stay up for, but what you're asserting is that we get AM bounce from a balloon. Is that correct?
I'm saying there's other ways.
There would have to be loads and loads and loads of balloons all over the Earth for that to work.
Said that NASA's launching 50 a day.
And we would be able to see them.
No, you can
everywhere.
You can see planes flying at 65,000 feet.
I mean, what I'm trying to say is you would eventually see these things everywhere. And that's not the case. I mean, when you look up at the night sky, and again, I'm trying to understand, where your concept of seeing the night sky comes from. I mean, I'm trying to understand what your dialogue is around perception of the stars, and then we'll talk about elements of conspiracy in just a moment.
Well,
okay, so let's leave that. Hang on. About the stars,
I want to get to a couple of listener questions too, because our listeners do have a few questions for you. One of them, Jeff Gear, he wants you to explain why. Hang on, where did it go, Jeff? There it is. Explain why sundials in the southern hemisphere are different than northern hemisphere.
Because the sun goes back and forth between the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn. So, of course, it's going to change. The sun is not 93 million miles away, and anybody who says that they know that is simply repeating what they've been taught. They don't know that the sun it's as big as the moon. It's right there in the sky. It puts hot spots on clouds. Go look at any high-altitude balloon footage, and you will see a hot spot that's right underneath the sun on the clouds. That does not happen from a 93 million mile away sun.
Okay, but to that point, if the Earth is flat and space doesn't exist, where does the sun go at night?
The sun rotates around the Earth. It's like the best way to describe it would be to take a plate and go up above the plate and then do a circle clockwise. That's where clockwise comes from, because the sun goes clockwise, the moon goes clockwise. That's where it comes from. It goes around the plate. So the sun is not a big ball of flaming fusion. The sun is more of a directed spotlight, meaning it keeps its light on only certain areas of the Earth at a time. That's why it
Yes,
comes
but only on certain areas of the Earth at a time. It would burn up these areas in this flat Earth model. That would not be good for sustaining crops. I don't think.
I understand that it's funny because you've been taught that the sun is 1,000,000 times the size of the Earth. You've just been taught that. You don't know it. You can say you know it.
Say you take an hourglass to an ant in the sunlight, and you're directing all that energy, from the sun through this hourglass to burn up
I was just about to say that you're describing a sun that you've been taught about, and I'm just telling you that the sun, you don't know how big the sun is. Flat earthers have measured the sun with triangulation and everything, and it's about 3,000 miles above us. Now, I'm not saying that that's a fact because I don't know that. That's just
how
what
have
the
they
math
measured
says.
this? Where the measurements?
Easily, triangulation. The only difference that you guys add is you add the curvature of the Earth, which makes it 93 million miles away. But with a flat Earth, it's 3,000 miles.
We would all be dead.
Hold on a second. Let me.
You ever see that
because
episode?
You're thinking of a sun.
Did you ever see that episode of
the size of the Earth?
Have you ever seen that episode?
Do you know what a coronal mass ejection is?
Yeah, I've seen. You mean the pretty pictures that NASA does with the fire coming off the sun? That matches your observations?
It's not just pretty pictures. These are the things that knock out satellites.
Oh yeah. When's name a satellite that's been knocked out?
I can name plenty of them. There have been plenty. Every time we have like a major coronal mass ejection, network communications go down.
When
in certain areas.
I could tell you when one definitely happened. The Satellite of Love tanked when MST3K got canceled, dude. Boom. Right there. In your fucking face, Jaren.
No, I mean, here's the thing, and I deal with this every day. So I love you, Amy. I don't hate you or think that you're dumb because I feel like I was you 2 years ago.
You just think I'm endearingly ignorant and that I've been fed all these things that other people have taught me. And I would like to point out that, most of the things that I've learned in life are not just anecdotal evidence or things that people have taught me. When I set out to learn something, I try to learn everything I can about it, honestly. Okay, and I try to evaluate all the evidence. And when all the evidence weighs in, it doesn't make sense for a flat Earth.
Okay, hold on. That's because of the way that we were taught. And this is what people don't understand. That's why I want everybody at home, do your own research. Take it from a non-biased position. Understand that what we were taught should be able to be verified. You should be able to go and actually research it and do the test yourself. For instance, the curvature of the Earth. You should be able to measure that. Okay, you should be able to measure the actual curvature of the Earth. Now, from California to Hawaii, for instance, 25,000 miles, using the formula of 8 inches per mile squared, that comes out to 789 miles of curvature. Okay, so you tell me if that matches your observation. When you fly from California to Hawaii, do you go over 789 miles of curvature? That's what the ball says. Now, you're going to say, oh, well, we don't notice, or the plane doesn't have to adjust because it's not the way planes work. Well, all these things are simply how we've been taught. And when you said it's the biggest deception, absolutely. That's what's so amazing about this is somebody has created a way to make us all feel like we're worthless.
Can I ask you another question?
Let me finish, though. We're inconsequential. We're bits of space that space exploded at a big bang. It's like and I'm sure you guys do too, make fun of creationists, right? But you believe in a big bang.
I don't try to make fun of anyone. I try to understand precisely why they believe in what they believe.
Okay, I'm telling you, because when I go out and I do the research, and we've done tests, we've done a laser test for 4 miles. Like I said, I filmed the boats going over the edge many times. We measured the distance that they were going. I can see Santa Cruz from the bay in Monterey. I can see the beach, Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk. It's 35 miles away. Okay, we use the actual distance, the curvature formula of 8 inches per mile squared, and there should be 600 feet below the curvature. It's not there. There is no curvature of Earth. It's all something that used to be thought of as being a fact, and now we are finding that by actually using our eyes and research and actually looking into these things, it's not a fact. And we're using the scientific method, and what I've realized, look at Edwin Hubble's comments about
how much of the scientific method are you using, though? What are you basing measurements on? What math are you using?
I'm using real math. So
define real math to
the
people listening? Not what?
Not orbital mechanics.
No, I'm asking you, what specific formulas are you using?
Okay,
I would like to see these formulas. Can you email them to me?
Absolutely. So I'll give you all this stuff. And
Okay.
the distance to the horizon is measured at, and this is even what globe believers tell us, is 8 inches per mile squared, because it's actually at 1 mile, it's only 8 inches, they say. Then at 2 miles, you take that distance squared. So 8 inches times 2, which would be 32 inches, right? And that's how you figure out how far away the horizon is at a certain distance. Okay? So that's the formula, 8 inches times distance squared. So when you take that formula and you put it on things like from Michigan, they can see the Chicago skyline. Now you'll hear everybody come up with looming, with refraction, with the mirage, everything, but it doesn't act like any of those things. It's not a mirage because you see the actual buildings. They're standing there. They're not distorted. They're not upside down. It's not a Fata Morgana. And it's 60 miles away. Okay, so do the math on 60 miles and you get about 2,800, and I could be off, I'll do the math real quick here. But 8 inches times the distance squared, so we said 60 miles times 60 and times 8, and then that's the inches, so you have to divide by 12 to get your, see here, so that's 200, whoops, did I do that wrong? Sorry, one more second. But I can send you all this stuff, and it's, there's tons of stuff. Go to deepinsidetherabbithole.com for those of you listening. He's got a ton of stuff up on all these things, and it's an enlightening thing it's hard at first when
well,
you
it must
realize
be a very sad thing
to
go around living thinking that the entire world is a conspiracy. And something I wanted to point out that I didn't get the chance to share earlier. I've tried to share this a couple of times. I don't know if you're familiar with Poe's Law, and
yeah, I've heard of it before.
It's okay.
It's certainly not what I'm doing. So I mean, this is to put your face out there like I am. I'm putting my real name out there. These are things that I believe. And when I started, I'll tell you the honest truth, it was a year and a half ago, or maybe 2 years at this point. And when I realized that it took me 3 months of my wife telling me to make videos, I kept researching, and it was just the most, everything falls into place. If you've ever been somebody who believed in aliens and somebody who believed, maybe former religious person, I know a lot of people were brought up religious and fell away. I almost was an atheist. I came very close, and when I went into forums and saw these guys arguing and asked them questions, realized very quickly that they are a religion. It is not, they don't have any knowledge. They're just simply ex-religious people who are really upset, and I understand why. The Bible God is certainly not
what does atheism have anything to do with a belief in a flat Earth?
Well, atheism is a result of the scientific teachings. It's absolutely on purpose. It is completely by design.
Not really. Okay, not really, no.
That's good. I understand. That's a deception, Amy. Well, it's a deception.
Well,
so there's nothing I'm going to say.
What's to say that you're not espousing another deception? And that's why I wanted to ask you if you knew of Poe's Law.
I'm telling people not to believe me. You're telling people to believe you. I'm telling people not to believe.
I'm not asking anyone to believe a damn word I say ever. But I'm telling you based on my own observations that a couple of years ago, there were sort of this mixed group. At first, it started off with internet trolls and people that wanted to troll people on conspiracy forums. And that it evolved into something which was, I consider unethical to a degree because of the implications of it. But to kind of give you a background on this, of course, Poe's Law is basically taking something, like an iteration that, finding someone who is very susceptible to believing anything and making a bold claim and making it completely indistinguishable from other bold claims that people would believe, and then just kind of setting it out on the world and seeing what sort of shape it takes. Now, flat Earth, I can tell you, I've seen floating around out there. I was trying to find the articles on it. They're difficult to find now. But the flat Earth Renaissance happened around the time there was sort of this person who was more, I would call, a cynic than a skeptic, decided that he wanted to infiltrate some conspiracy theory forums and just put the idea out there with a couple little notions and nods and basically just see what sort of life this thing would take on. And then as a result of that, other social science experiments have happened where people will implant false conspiracies just to see how a conspiracy evolves, just to test levels of belief and acceptance, how people accept anecdotal evidence, and then all of a sudden have an epiphany, some sort of an epiphany, something that seems to contradict, everything that is held true to testable and repeatable theorems, and then they go through this phase of isolationism, this phase where they feel like they've been lied to, where the government is lying to them, and that other people throughout history have lied to them up until this point. And then the easier way to reject it further is to just totally reject history in parts that say no, that in this case, the earth is round. And, it starts to look like its own religion at that point. That's something that you can
like
maybe
science.
relate to. It's the religion here is turned into the conspiracy theory, and it's turned into its own religion of rejecting things that are testable and repeatable to no end.
I just told you about things that I've tested and they're not repeating. So that's great that you think what you think, and I understand that it's a deception, and so I don't expect you to really hit the light right now and say, oh, you're right. Everything that they've ever taught us about science is a religion.
What I'm trying to tell you is you've been had.
That's great. I'm telling you've been had.
I'm trying to say that you've been had by a bunch of people performing, what's called pose law. People going out there and coming up with the craziest conspiracy theories and just putting them out there into the wild and see how they evolve. And there's a lot of things, a lot of misinformation that have happened. And I can say that, even our own government has put out misinformation just to see how these things will distribute among societies. To what ends do we believe? And, to what ends will we reject what we know to be true? And, that's kind of a scary and dangerous thing, too, to think, all of a sudden, these things that we, not just things that we have taught, but things that we pretty much know to be a fact are so easily shaken, by the idea that.
Well, hang on a second. Here's a really good point. One of our listeners, he writes me in. He says, "Steve, my dad is a U-2 pilot who has flown at the edge of space and has seen with his own eyes the curvature of the Earth. He didn't make it up, and NASA did not tell him to tell me that. How do you account for that?"
Well, anytime you take a hula hoop and put it at your eye level above your head, and you look at it and you would see it flat, correct? Right? If you put it at your eye level and looked straight ahead for you, that hula hoop would look very flat. And if you took the hula hoop and lowered it down,
point when George was talking
when you lower
about
it to your waist, is that hula hoop still going to look flat to you, or is it going to look like it has a curved edge?
Okay, but listen, doesn't that speak exactly to your point about the horizon being flat?
No, I didn't make that point, because the horizon rises to your eye level, okay? But we see in a circle. You know that, right? You can only see in a circle around you.
But isn't that the same exact argument, though?
That you can see in a circle around you?
Actually, depth of field doesn't quite work that way.
Yeah, what'd you say?
I said actually depth of field and vision doesn't quite work that way. We don't necessarily
so you can see further in one direction than you can the other? What do you think?
I won't get into the physiology of it. I'm not an ophthalmologist. I don't study optometry.
Are we smart enough here? Hold on a second. All four of us, are we smart enough to realize we see in a circle, or we're going to argue that point? Can you see further in one direction than you can the other? Or is it a circle that you see around you, a 360-degree circle?
If you turn around,
if I look like a horse, then I might be able to see behind me.
Yeah, you physically have to turn to see behind you.
But you can see a 180-degree half circle then. Put your arms out straight from your sides, and you can see both your hands. Okay, so you can see 180 degrees.
Yes,
correct?
but just because that is 180 degrees of a circle in your imagined space, But anyway, I don't know how we got on this.
Neither do I.
To be honest, this doesn't.
When you say
Okay, where are we going?
So wait,
we
hang on.
digress.
Let me answer.
So wait,
let me answer
if
him.
you
Let me
if
answer
you're
you.
driving,
you said, hold
wait.
on. You answer me a question. Let me answer it.
Okay.
So you said, how do I account for a pilot saying he saw the curve? So how do you account for numerous pilots? And I could show you 10 different videos of actual pilots saying that they think the Earth is flat. How do you account for them?
I account for them the same way I account for anyone who says something that isn't computing to me. I
Okay.
believe people believe what they want to believe, but here we have somebody with no agenda, a father
Right.
talking to his son.
Of course. And that's, I had somebody tell me once, what are you saying, that my grandpa's a liar? Because he helped build the Saturn V. No, I'm not saying your grandpa's a liar. In fact, that your grandpa's an awesome scientist, an awesome, mechanic that put together the Saturn V. It just didn't go to the moon. That's all. It's not a matter of, oh, well, my grandpa's lying. No, your grandpa wouldn't do anything.
So to reframe this also, you believe the moon landing was faked.
Anybody who doesn't simply has fallen into a trap of being religious because you have not done the
you've
research.
fallen into a trap of being religious about your dogma that there's
I'm
some
telling
sort of giant government conspiracy.
Dude,
that there are too many levels of this.
Do you believe in
there's a difference.
Sandy Hook? Did Sandy Hook happen in your opinion, or is that a false
course
flag?
it
This
happened.
has nothing to
It does. It has
do
everything to do with
with
it. It
the
has everything to
shape
do with it.
of
Because
the
There's
Earth.
two types of people. There's people who believe what your government and everybody tells you. Like 9/11. Do you think it was 19 box cutting toting Arabs? Is that who you
Can
think?
I ask you a question? Do you believe that the
didn't
people
answer my
that get reported on the 9 o'clock news actually get shot, or that everybody's immortal?
What happened?
I'm asking you. I'm asking you
Absolutely.
that people in your
People get
local
shot all the time.
area, okay,
Sure.
people get shot all the time, right?
Absolutely.
so
Every day, thousands.
Just because it's not a mass shooting, there can't be a conspiracy about it.
What?
I mean, it seems like with every single mass shooting there is somebody out there waiting to turn it into a conspiracy.
Sad thing is that there's nobody going out and doing mass shootings. That's the funny thing, is that this is scaring people. It's all fear porn. It's meant to scare you that you need the government to protect you. And believe me, do the research on Sandy Hook. It didn't happen, ladies and gentlemen. Not at all.
Why don't you go tell?
What do you think
Wait.
about
Why don't
the
you?
Oklahoma City bombing? Did that not happen as well?
Not at all.
Well, Jaren, how about?
Okay, well then you're a liar,
Jaren.
because you do not understand
Okay.
what
Jaren,
has happened.
wait,
Maybe
don't
you
you-
haven't experienced personal tragedy like other people
I
have.
absolutely have.
But-
And that's what's so sad about this, is they're playing to your heartstrings by telling
Jaren,
you that all these kids
Jaren.
were
So you're
killed.
trying to say that when you see people who go through a tragedy, say that somebody has been there,
Okay.
they know what has happened.
Okay.
You're trying to say that means nothing and that it's all just some sort of goddamn false flag. Is that what you're trying to
If
say?
you do the research on things like Sandy Hook, for instance, those kids that
Jaren, wait. Why don't
on.
Why don't you go and try telling it didn't happen to the parents who lost children there?
Okay, try finding the
Or
parents.
people who have lost relatives and things like this.
Okay, try finding them. Like, for instance, the kids that sang at the Super Bowl right after the whole Sandy Hook happened.
Oh my God!
Those kids cannot be found now. And I know a friend who is offering $10,000. All you have to do is find one of those kids that sang at the Super Bowl, find them and bring them forward for an interview, find out where they're at. Because guess what? The NFL says we lost all the paperwork. We don't know how those kids got here, what flight they took, because you know why? Those kids are the kids that died at Sandy Hook. They're older, and they used their older pictures.
But
I
if
know
you
it sounds-
look at your other assertion, the other assertion that you made,
Mm-hmm.
looking at things that you learn what other people tell you to believe and things like that.
Right, but nobody's offering
Might you
$10,000.
question at some point? Might you question at some point that perhaps these people you might be listening to could be wrong,
No, the difference
even
is
when they
have
might
evidence.
espouse
The difference is you can
1% of
go look
truth
for
in
it.
what they might speak?
You can go look for it. That's what I'm trying to tell you. I mean, you believe that there's the...
I don't have to look for it. I know people that have been in these tragedies.
So Explorer 1, let's talk about
It's
Explorer
not
1.
great. It's
13
horrible.
It's 13 billion miles away, Explorer 1. Do you think that NASA's in communication with the spacecraft that's 13 billion miles away, yet there's places in Africa that don't have the internet? Is that what you believe? That those things are sending pictures through the magic of space? That all these pictures are coming back from Mars. We have videos, we have pictures from Mars, but we can't
takes
get
a
internet.
long time to
the whole-
download those things.
Great. How are they traveling to Earth? Through what? Through the vacuum of
Radio
space?
communications.
Through space for 50
Yes,
for 50
it
million
works.
miles? It works.
It
It works
works.
because you've been told that and you're showed pretty pictures. Go
No,
look up Devon
it-
Island.
No,
Devon
no,
Island
no,
is
no,
where
no.
they
Look,
leak everything.
No. Jeremy. You see,
No.
it works
You're-
because it's technology,
It's
and it's
not
been put.
technology.
Yes,
How
it
do-
is.
We have places in Africa, dude,
Jaren,
that don't have
you've
internet.
gone
Have you
from-
ever built a computer before?
Have I built a computer?
Yes.
But that's science. I mean, that's the kind
No,
of science
it's
that
not
is.
really science. All it is just being a what we used to call a parts monkey, knowing where to put things together. You know, it's
Parts
knowing where to
monkeys build
snap
computers?
things. You know, it's a joke. But what I'm trying to say is, it seems like a lot of this seems to come from some sort of technophobia, some sort of fear of the unknown. And if you don't understand, you know, how radio works, how telecommunications work,
Right,
how
'cause-
technology works, at a most basic level, you don't have to be a computer scientist to do these things.
To
You just
send
have to be
images
curious.
50 million miles? To send images 50 million miles, you don't have to be anybody special. You can just do that.
It's
Go- go to-
possible.
Go outside your house. If you walk away from your house, the Wi-Fi stops working.
When you get a text, Jaren, are
Wi-Fi
you?
is omnidirectional.
Wait. When you get a text, Jaren, are you
Yeah.
like, oh my god, it's a fucking miracle?
No, that's done through cell phone towers, is it not?
Oh my lord.
I'm asking. Well, you say, "Oh Lord," because you were taught.
Okay,
let's ask you this: do you think?
Do you know what directional and omnidirectional communications are?
Absolutely. So, do you
Do
think?
you?
That's,
Really?
yes. Do you
Because
think
it
that,
sounds like you don't.
Okay. Do you think that planes communicate with satellites in the sky?
I'm pretty sure you communicate with satellites in the sky, Jaren.
I'm pretty sure if you can get internet access, yes.
Wow. You are hilarious. Look it up, guys. Your entire internet is run through underground sea cables. This is a known thing for anybody who's actually looked into anything.
Have you ever traveled internationally before?
Absolutely.
Have you ever used the internet internationally before
I
and
just
not
said
on your
they're
cell
run-
phone?
I just said they're through underground cables.
So there's a magical cable. There's this
It's
magical
not magical. Look
umbilicus.
it up.
There's a magical fucking umbilicus that connects to a goddamn plane that you use to access the internet.
I didn't say you're totally
Because
going
that's
on
what
a-
it sounds like to me.
I asked if planes talk to satellites, and then he brought up that I talk to satellites through the internet, and I'm trying to explain to you all the internet is done through underground cables. Okay, that's the way it is. That's fact.
And
No, it's not.
and
You
all
have
the
no idea
stars are
about
on
network
spider web
communications.
Look it up
strings.
and then realize this is Amy telling us that our internet comes from satellites in the sky. So hilarious that you guys
Okay,
come
so
across this.
okay, so let's just say I have direct
Wow.
TV. How do I get a
Wow is
signal
right,
if there's no
because you're gonna
satellite?
realize how
Wow,
funny
because
about
you've
that.
probably never lived in a
realize
rural
how-
community and
But
accessed
wait.
satellite internet before.
If I have direct TV and get a signal, how do I get a signal if there's no satellite?
It goes off of a plane or it bounces off
Oh,
the
it conveniently
ionosphere?
there's
bounces
always
off the
a plane
ionosphere.
can-
Sphere.
Sphere.
You have a
Is it
sphere.
nature?
You have an
You're
an
debunked.
ionosphere.
That's
Debunked.
fact.
Because if it were
Oh.
flat, it wouldn't work.
Allow me to call.
If I could just interrupt one time.
Hold
Joe.
on 1 second. Everyone at home, just make
Yes,
sure you do your
Joe.
own research. Fact check Amy on her plane flying nonsense and on her internet in the sky. Check all that
Yes,
stuff. And then
please. All my
Advice.
friends at the FAA, please feel free to call in if you're listening tonight.
in.
You know, and anybody
just told
that
you.
knows me, anybody that who has worked at NASA, please feel
we
free to
have
call in.
military missile commanders. There's so many people coming forward and saying, "Hey, I shoot targets. I paint targets at 60 miles away from my little boat on the ocean, which is impossible. It's impossible to do on a sphere." And you laugh. Think of how funny it is to me. You're talking about a ball in space with people that are upside down, right side up, on the side of the ball. It's spinning. It's all hilarious to me. Water being suspended upside down, millions of
It's
pounds.
because you don't believe in gravity.
So gravity holds up the trillions of pounds of water at the bottom
Yes, it does.
of the I know, because you were taught it. You were taught that the magical force of
Gravity exists. We have observed gravitational waves. This
Sure,
is a
yep.
fact.
And is 95% of the known universe impossible for us to see in the form of dark matter and dark energy? Yes or no?
Well, a good point about that. They have just discovered that fast radio bursts, the FRBs, might hold a secret into understanding more about the nature of dark matter in the universe. You can look that up. That's on phys.org, phys.org.
And here's something
Yeah,
for you. One of our listeners, Mike B, he just tweets in, I knew someone that lost a family member in the Oklahoma City bombing. It's a total insult to say it didn't happen. How do you respond
I never
to
said
that?
it didn't happen. I said it didn't go down the way you were taught. That's
How
what I
do you
said.
know it went down any other different way?
Because you need to do the research. You cannot just take what the government tells you.
I can walk around the area. I can walk around the area. I can walk around the bomb sites.
So that tells you who ordered who to kill and all that stuff. You know, that's how you know these things. You know that.
But you don't believe that all those people died? Is that that was the assertion that you made with Sandy Hook, that you don't believe that these people had died in this mass tragedy?
Died in Sandy Hook.
Nobody died in Sandy. Okay.
No.
Okay.
And if you did the research, if you actually looked into it, you would see that it's obvious. I mean, do you believe in the Boston bombing, the marathon bombing? I mean, you're talking about
I watched the Boston bombing.
This is not something that you want to believe in. I would like not to believe that these things are true. But you know what? I have to accept it because because that is the reality and the nature of man.
No, that's how society works. That you have to accept that you're considered a conspiracy theorist. And guess what?
You know what I did?
Who came up with that name?
After those, you know what? After those events happened, I was over in the United Kingdom, and I sat glued to one of the apps that you use to listen in on radio chatter. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm sure you're aware of those. Yeah, like police scanners and scanner radio and things. I sat for hours on end listening to these things. And do I believe that it happened? Absolutely, I believe that it happened. I don't think that was all orchestrated.
We have an incoming phone call. Maybe it's somebody from NASA.
I can't wait.
Welcome to Brainwaves. You're in the air. You're in the air. You're just fucking here with the rest of us. Who's this?
This is Dave. I'd like to ask Amy a question.
Sure. Amy?
Yes?
Go ahead.
On the show?
Yeah, you're on the air.
Mm-hmm.
We hear you.
Okay. Amy, Jared was trying to make a point about Polaris, and I've done an experiment myself where I hooked up a pipe on the side of my house, and I lined it up with Polaris. And each night I look through it, and I see Polaris there. 6 months later, when I look through it, I still see Polaris. And we're 180 million miles on the other, across on the other side of the sun. How is that possible?
Well, the way in which you were observing, you don't have a massive telescope in your backyard. You don't have a massive radio telescope to see the minute movement of Polaris, but I can assure you that it does move. No, that's not what I'm saying.
Amy, that's not what I'm saying. I lined it up through a pipe, so it's all I can see, a narrow quarter-inch pipe that's about 4 feet long, and when I look through it, I can see Polaris. Now, the Earth is spinning around the sun. 6 months later, million miles, so it's 186 million miles away from where it was 6 months later. That's only accounting for one of the motions of the Earth.
Right, I was going to say.
And it's still lined up with Polaris.
I'm trying to say, based on your relative position, the end of this pipe that does not have any sort of instrument to measure the minute movements of Polaris, it moves. You won't be able to see it move dramatically, but it does move.
Okay, so everybody at home, do this too. Go look at any software. You can go to any planetarium software online, even Celestium, those kind of things, and start moving the years forward and watch Polaris. Move it 5,000 years from now and tell me if Polaris moved an inch.
Yes, but that's all relative to the pixels on your screen. What I'm asking you to do, if you're really that curious, is to go to an observatory. They're open. There are lots of observatories open to the public where you can go and you can get some public viewing time on these things. Ask questions.
The planetarium uses a planisphere, which is based on a flat Earth. That's how planispheres work.
So you think they're using these little slides, like the viewfinder goggles? Is that what you're saying?
Hang on, we have another call. Let's get him on. Welcome to Brainwaves. You're on the air. Please extinguish your device.
Extinguish your device.
Are you there?
Yes.
Who is this?
This is Jay.
Jay from where?
Colorado.
Hi, Jay from Colorado. What's on your mind?
Well, I just had a question about the shape of the Earth.
Don't we all, brother? What's up?
Because all the photographs that I see on the internet and in books are perfect spheres.
It's
They're
not a
perfectly
perfect
round.
sphere, Zach. It is not an actual perfect sphere. There is a little bit of wobble.
Well, the photographs display it as a perfect sphere. So their photographs are...
No, that's relative to the
when
way
the
in which that you see it in print and online media.
Yeah, it depends on what you're saying is...
We're talking about something that's not visible with your perception with the naked eye.
The first picture of Earth came in 1972 through Apollo 17, and we didn't have another picture of Earth until 2015. Just so everybody at home knows that. That's how long it took them to take the second picture of Earth.
No, that's not true, because we see the
I'll
Earth all
show
the
you where
time on the
Obama
ISS
said-
feed.
Hey,
You don't see the whole Earth.
Hang on. Please let the caller talk.
Got to be open-minded, and she's not. And I understand, because I thought this was nuts too. But now Neil deGrasse Tyson, whatever that guy's name is, what's his name?
Neil
You guys
deGrasse
know?
Tyson.
He's talking about a pear-shaped Earth now. Why don't they show it as a pear-shaped Earth? Is it pear-shaped or is it round? I'm confused.
No, it's not like an actual, like a literal pear-shaped Earth. What he's trying to say is that it is not a perfectly round sphere.
Then how come the photographs show it perfectly round?
I'm trying to tell you that based on your perception, it's an illusion in the photograph. It's not fake. It's not fake.
I'm a graphic designer. I can tell when I see a fake photograph. Okay, they're all
If you're
fake.
a graphic designer, then you know about DPI and pixels per inch, and that a single
fake.
pixel per inch
Why can't I never seen a real picture of the Earth? Why not?
We have.
They're composites.
You know what? I really like, for everybody who thinks we live on a flat Earth, I'm sure at some point there's going to be probably a Virgin Galactic flight, or, probably commercial space flight that will allow you to see. Well, they're going to be coming in the next couple of years. That's going to be a reality. I hope you're able to see that we live on a round Earth. And even then, I'm sure that there will be some sort of an excuse saying that, oh, that's just a projection of a window. And because we can't open the windows in space, then we can't tell that, the Earth is round. They're faking it all, So there's not, if you have your mind set.
No, we didn't have our mind
dogma.
set. If people at home pay attention here, somebody's saying that they have been a globe believer for 35 years, and then they looked into it and changed their mind. The other person is steadfast in their belief and has never looked into the other. So when she says things like somebody is closed-minded or somebody doesn't use their brain, you guys can decide.
You are closed-minded to science.
I think
because you dismiss it as a conspiracy.
Because I researched it,
honestly,
and it's not
though,
true. There is no evidence.
Honestly, though,
People
Jaron,
there is evidence. There's tons of evidence. You're just dismissing it because it's convenient. Confirmation bias.
Jaron,
confirmation bias.
Jaron
is not true.
Hang on, Jaron. It really sounds like that you're looking for these things. People.
Okay, let me tell you why that's important.
But I'll tell you, no, I am
100%
into research and judging for yourself. That's what life is all about. But it seems to me that you have a bit of an agenda, and then you get your knowledge from other folks who have a bit of an agenda, and then this agenda ends up being this massive thing. And at the end of the day, the end of the day, it all stems from the fact that this whole thing is because you believe there are these people out there that just don't want to tell you the Earth is flat because they're dicks, and that's just not an acceptable fucking thing to me.
Great, I'm glad that it's not acceptable to you, because let me explain to you the difference between me and you, and let me speak this out. That you don't understand that what you just described about me being biased and only going to people that have an agenda is the exact same thing as being a science fan. And how you don't see that they think of peer review. Okay, that's people who already are set in their beliefs. They went through.
No, it's not.
Can you please
It's not
be
at
quiet?
all.
Let him
I
finish.
You talk
Let him
so many
finish.
times tonight. I let you, Amy. I let you just go on and carry on yourself and talk
Well,
about.
I've
things
let
that aren't
you
even
go
true.
on and on and on,
haven't.
talking about
Just
things
let
that
him-
aren't
let
even
him-
true at all.
let him-
And you've
let him-
insulted me.
let him talk.
You've insulted my family. You've insulted
Oh, I
people I
insulted
know
your
who have
family?
lost family
Ooh.
members. You have
Yeah.
insulted, you've
insulted them.
insulted my friends.
But
You've told me
Go
that
find
my
somebody.
friends
Hang
are
on.
lying to me, categorically lying to me because they're
You
in
have
on
friends that-
some sort
you
of
have friends that
giant
died in Sandy Hook?
conspiracy.
You have friends that died.
I have
Jaren,
friends who have family who did.
Jaren, with all due
I'm
respect,
gonna follow you up on that, just so you know. You're gonna have to prove to
Jaren,
me that what you just said
Jaren,
is
no, no,
true.
no,
I
she
don't have
doesn't.
to
Wait,
prove
wait,
you
wait, wait,
anything.
wait.
You just
Hold
made
on,
a
hold on,
statement.
hold
Proof
on,
is
hold
on
on.
you, sir.
Jaren,
You
Jaren,
the proof is on you.
Jaren,
You're so lost.
hang on, Jaren. First of
I
all,
didn't insult anybody.
No,
for
no,
the
no,
record.
Jaren. You know what?
Yeah,
to
you
be
did.
very, Amy, can I get this 1 second, please?
Yes.
I do believe that you discounting lives that have been lost is insulting to the families of the people who
You're absolutely
had-
right. So
yeah.
if I said that nobody died at Sandy Hook, then if somebody proves to me,
No, but
bring
you
the
see what
people
you but
forward-
you see that's the thing with human tragedy.
What?
It happens and it's accepted, and until
Great, and
you've
that's-
been,
don't you
until
understand that
you've
people
been
that
are
touched
deceiving
by
you-
it. Until,
people
wait,
that are
wait, hold on,
deceiving you-
hold on.
Hold on.
Until
People that are deceiving you will tell you
Jaren,
stories.
You know what?
So
no,
that
there
you go
is no
around and
stories,
say things like you're
Jaren.
saying. Here's
there
what you
are
don't
no
understand.
stories.
Is that hold
Here's
on.
what you don't understand.
Great.
There
I know you
are
think I don't
no
understand, but let me get my point out because
there
you
are
asked me
facts, bro.
You said that I'm trying to prove some sort of bias or I have an agenda, right? Let me tell you the difference between what Amy's doing and what I'm doing. Okay, Amy is speaking up for science. She's saying that it's true, that it's fact, that people who are into this peer review are all on the up and up. They don't have any agenda. That's what she's saying. Okay, if she was wrong. If she's wrong about what she's saying, she is hurting all of the world. She's hurting all of humanity.
Okay.
Hold
And
on,
what
let
about
me
if you
finish.
are wrong?
Dude,
What about
you
if
need to let
you
me
are
finish a
wrong?
statement.
Aren't you doing the same thing? Aren't you doing the same thing if you are wrong?
Absolutely. Let me finish my statement. The reason it's different between what she's doing and what I'm doing is science is trying to disprove the current theory. Hold on. Do not talk until I'm done. Science is trying to disprove whatever the current belief is. But what we've ran into is a society who just backs up science. You can't question NASA. You can't question the moon landing because those things are our dogmatic beliefs, and you better believe them or you're going to be considered a conspiracy theorist and a retard. I'm trying to tell you.
I take great offense to that, to the
Great.
retard statement. And something I would really like to point out
You
is,
take offense to me saying that flat earthers are retards?
Well, I take offense to the word retard.
So do I actually. So that's good. I actually.
Well, you used it. You invoked it as if to I'm not going to go.
I said people
This-
call flat earthers that. So you're absolutely right.
The soul of science is to prove your axiom wrong. The soul of science, the idea of the scientific method is not going in with an idea that you want to prove right. It's to prove it wrong and to
what I'm
thoroughly
saying is-
prove it wrong.
You're listening me out. If I'm wrong, okay, and I started out with YouTube with 0 followers. I went and made it. My first video had 0 followers, no views. Now I'm up to 50,000 followers by explaining things out for people and asking them to go do their own research. Okay, and if you guys think this is going away, go ahead and look online. I mean, there's
Dude,
more.
I don't give a shit if it stays
Great.
permanently.
numbers, is that
because
it?
what you don't get is that people are doing the research and realizing the truth, and that's what I want everybody at home to do. I'm not expecting to convince any of you
And
guys.
again, the basis is because you think that the government, whoever, are just dicks and they don't want to tell us, as if somebody has something to gain here. Hang on, we have another call.
Boy, nobody has anything to gain. You're right.
No,
Okay, nobody's in
nothing
trouble.
about the shape of the earth. What? Ooh, shit. Wow, I just hit fucking lotto. Hang on, I got another call. And I missed them because I was babbling. Listen, guys, it's 12:05. We've been doing the show for over 3 hours now. I'm gonna wrap it up if it's okay with you with some closing thoughts. To the people listening, you've heard a lot of arguments, you heard a lot of yelling, you've heard a lot of theories, a lot of conjecture, a lot of everything. And ultimately, it's up to you to decide what you believe. And hopefully, if this show tonight, through all the fucking ups and downs it's taken, has given you some pause for thought, then great. That's what it's all about, man. But I will say, that nobody has any right to insult anyone, and nobody has any right to force their beliefs on anyone.
I agree.
Okay?
Can I have 1 minute and then I'll be done?
You can have 1 minute.
Thank you. I agree 100% with what he said. And if anybody thinks I offended anybody, what I said was Sandy Hook did have nobody died. Okay. And if you think I offended that person, then bring them forward so that.
But they don't have anything to prove to you.
Why would I want to subject a family member who's already been through tragedy
Really?
to someone who disbelieves that their tragedy existed?
Yeah, I mean, really,
that is
dude.
cruel and that is unusual.
That is like the most callous thing you could possibly do. I mean,
Okay,
really.
great. Let me just
hey,
leave it
look,
this, guys.
this person
Everybody at
undervalues
home
your
should
tragedy.
realize
Very
that we are set up-
self-centric.
Okay, hold on. I'm trying to explain something. I just want people at home to realize that when things are set up in a way that sets you up for deception, when the government says something happened at Sandy Hook, and then you've got people like Amy and this guy over here telling me that by questioning it, that I'm this evil person, then realize that we've set ourselves up for deception. Meaning they can say anything. They can make up events and none of us would ever question it because, oh, shoot, I'm going to be considered a conspiracy theorist and they're going to think that I'm being rude and that I'm insulting Amy's family. I'm not insulting anybody personally. I am saying that when you do the research, nobody died at Sandy Hook. Now, go to the website, Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole, look at the 3 events, 9/11, look at Sandy Hook. These things, if you research them, you will find the truth.
Jaron.
Period.
Jaron.
Can I?
Jaron? No, you can't finish because I'm gonna finish. Okay. First of all, I was there during 9/11. I lost my best friend in that building. I watched what happened. Okay, so I don't want to hear jack shit about any 9/11 theories. Okay, and I could tell you firsthand because I watched a lot of people die. Okay, I watched people jump out of the fucking buildings and fall to their death without fucking a parachute, without any net, knowing that they were gonna die.
Well, you were there.
Yes, I was right there. I am from New York. All right, I lost my best
friend who was in New York who
friend.
has a different story. So,
well, your friend is a jackass. Okay, because I was right there. Okay, I watched the planes hit.
Then you should be pissed at your government.
No, I'm pissed. I am pissed at any motherfucker who had anything to do with that. So just let me tell you this. I pray to God that one day you never have to deal with the type of tragedy of a fucking 9/11 or a fucking Sandy Hook. Because I can guarantee you this, Jack, it'll change your perspective but motherfucking good and but motherfucking quick. And with that, I am ending this debate. Jaren, thank you. I appreciate your time. But seriously, pull your head out of your ass, dude. Because what you're doing is wrong on so many levels.
Okay, do your own.
It really does hurt people.
Okay, so now... Sorry, I had to get that out because it made my fucking blood boil. It really did.
Well, if there's one thing I think all of us can agree upon, it's that girls go to Venus to get more penis, and boys go to Mars to get more candy bars.
Girls go to Venus and they die.
All right,
well,
guys.
it must be terrible penis
Listen,
then.
First of all, I apologize for losing my temper at the end there. It's just that really just makes when you make light out of somebody's personal tragedy. I don't care if it's a cataclysmic event or it's one person suffering, watching their friend die or whatever it is. Any bit of loss or tragedy should be acknowledged and respected, period. And you do not have any fucking right to ask anyone for proof that your tragedy existed. Ever. And you know what? I dug Jaren. I thought he was an okay guy until he started that shit. I have no room for that shit. There will be none of that shit on this show. Okay? The people don't do that, man. Do that. You're asking for a foot in the ass. And Lord knows I got a pretty big boot. Hi, Joe. How are you tonight?
Well, I'm doing well. That was certainly that's a first time for this show, and I appreciate Amy being there to take the brunt of that.
Thanks, guys. Yeah,
I'm sure that was more than what you expected.
I could have done other things tonight, but I really wanted to come on and discuss this because no matter how bad I'm feeling, I feel like it's pretty important.
Yes.
Well, that's good, because if you weren't here, Steve and I probably would have got just laughed until they hung up, and the show would have went for an hour and 12 minutes.
Yeah, I don't try to I don't try to put people down for their personal beliefs and things, but when people want to start a straw man argument or launch ad hominem attacks or things like that, I just I have to say, okay, well, look, all right, reason is broken down here. And, I can try to explain, from the most reasonable perspectives that I know, the fact that I know an astronaut who's been to space and shown me pictures, that's anecdotal. But for some people, that's enough. I had a flat earth guy on one of my podcasts, and for him, just knowing that he knew somebody that went to space and had seen pictures of space and of Earth. And, that was enough for him to quit believing in a flat Earth. And I don't think it should be that way. If you have to formulate an opinion about whether or not the Earth is round, I expect that you investigate all sides and, but in such a way that you don't see science as some sort of static, unmovable, cynical, mechanism for, things in which we should compare everything in the world to, but the essence of science in itself is trying to prove itself wrong. And we move from hypothesis to theory when, you have a theory. Theories are something that people have tested and repeated and tested and repeated trying to prove something wrong. And it seems like they've come up with a really good answer for something. And now that doesn't mean that theories are unmovable, that theories can't change. You talk about like Einstein's theory of relativity, and there are all sorts of things that, could change in the future the more we learn about certain things. But the essence of science is just to keep questioning and learning more about things and not to be, dismissive or afraid of what's out there.
Amen. And you know what? Really, like we said, do your own research, draw your own conclusions, come to terms with what you believe and who you believe. Because at the end of the day, the only thing that really matters is who you are and what you believe and how you make what you believe applicable to everyone else out there in a positive way instead of a negative one. And that.
Well, I think that's the key. I think of the whole show tonight was two people on that flat Earth side that were vastly different in how they portrayed things and their experiences.
Yeah.
Just the reason we had Amy on was so we could have an intelligent conversation from our side. And the other side.
Yeah, but Joe, I'm the paid shill, right? I'm sure that's going around that I'm the paid shill. I'm the I'm NASA's bitch or something. I don't know.
Dude, I am so.
Well, I'm fairly certain anybody that's listening to our show knows we can't afford to pay anybody anything.
Yeah, there's that, and if I were a paid shill, I'm sure that they know my address and they can send me a check.
Well, you know what, Amy? I think
I'm operating on the smallest shoestring budget there is, and
I think you found your first T-shirt, Amy. NASA's bitch.
NASA's bitch, or bitch for NASA. That's one. Bitch for NASA, or NASA motherfucker. That could be another cool shirt. I've got like all these wonderful shirt ideas, offensive shirts. I've got an entire closet dedicated to offensive shirts. So I'm sure that'll make it on the rack.
Will you rock the cock?
I could rock the cock. I've got Jesus riding I think he's riding some sort of a T-Rex. That's one of my shirts.
Because when the brainwave shirt comes, you're gonna rock the cock, baby. Because I'm gonna send you one. Oh
yeah, that's right. like a falcon. How's it go?
Like a cock to the ear sent via messenger
falcon. Yeah,
guys, great. You've been listening to Brainwaves on Deep Talk Radio Network. Amy, thank you so much. Joe, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, feel better, get better. We need you healthy, and Holy fuck! What a
Yeah.
night! All right, guys. Well, I
Thank
don't.
you so much.
I don't have any idea who the guest is for next week, but we'll dig up somebody for you. Thank you for listening. You're on Brainwaves on
Love you guys.
deeptalkradio.com. Love you too. Guys, it's time to go wherever we're headed, baby. We are back on Brainwaves. I have two of our guests here still waiting for Amy. She's having a little bit of a technical difficulty, but that's okay. Joe, you there?
I am here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, and I want to make a little bit of an introduction right now because our guest, George Gigi Wingmaker, Winggiver Anderson, when he found out that Jeran from Jeranism was going to be on the show, he got really excited. So you there, George?
Yes, sir.
All right, George, I want you to meet Jeran from Jeranism. Jeran, you there?
I'm here.
All right, well, here's your meeting. Two flat earthers connecting like magnetic salt and pepper shakers. Go ahead, kiss, guys.
Hey, what's up? What's your name? Jared or Jerry?
Jeran.
Jeran.
Jared. Yes, it is a pleasure and an honor to meet you, man. You're one of the pioneers and one of the forefathers of this movement.
Well, thank you.
Yes, growing up, I just want to quickly say, growing up, I wanted to meet Larry Bird and Michael Jordan and all these other pro athletes, but no, I want to meet you and other flat earthers out here every day fighting the good fight, doing the truth, and pushing flat earth and a bunch of other stuff that goes along with flat earth.
Well, I appreciate that. Thanks.
See, now, the one thing I've noticed about these flat earth guys, and that's how I'm going to, and believe me, let me just state right off the bat that nobody's here to make fun of anyone, okay? This is a genuine talk about genuine concerns that that lie on each side. With the round earth is like going, how the fuck could you possibly believe that? And the flat earth is going, well, how could you stay with your eyes closed and not realize it? So it might get salty, but that's expected. Jeran, I warned you already. You were cool with it, right?
Absolutely.
And George, the first words out of my mouth is, I think you're some kind of fucking nut. You remember that?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. So I just want to be sure everybody knows that everyone's on a very level playing field and everyone is just ready to say their piece. I find this very interesting. Now, a few things that George said. Now, George, you had told me at the restaurant that you didn't believe in science. Is that correct?
Well, what do you mean? Science is it's a
George?
religion at this point. It's
George?
a bunch of stuff that people say, they don't prove it. Science, you have to do it over and over and over and then prove it.
Okay. Now, Jeran, you feel the same way?
Absolutely.
Okay, so
Yeah,
Jeran.
science has become a religion.
Science has become a religion. Okay, so Jeran, do you believe in gravity?
It depends what you mean by that, but if you're talking about the force that sends everything on Earth towards the ground, then yes. But if you're talking about that same force being responsible for the moon remaining in orbit, which they consider it always falling towards the Earth and just barely missing the Earth by the curvature, no, then I don't apply that to things in space, if you want to call it that.
Okay, so now, George, did you happen to go to the website and see the map that Jeran, I should say, did you happen to go to the website and see the map that George had drawn out?
Yeah, I saw the picture. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you both are of the mindset that the world is flat and we're surrounded by a giant ice wall, right? That's how it works?
For me personally, I wouldn't exactly go that far because I don't know. We don't know what's out there. I've never seen the ice wall with my own eyes, so it'd be hard for me to say that that's the case. But
okay.
That's generally the theory that's been pushed around in the past by other flat Earth proponents.
So George, tell us about this ice wall.
Okay, well,
It sounds all very Game of Thrones to me.
yeah,
Is
that's
winter
what you said.
coming, motherfucker?
Well, I don't know, like he said, I've never seen it with my eyes, but we're under the assumption Antarctica is not a little.
Actually, I think heard the
Hello?
sound of each other's voices.
Yes, George, we got you back.
Excitement.
And Jared, hang on, Jared, I'm grabbing George. I don't know what happened, Skype. Well, this is live fucking radio, man. Shit happens. Okay, George is no longer online, so whatever happened with him bumped us. So, to reiterate, Amy, I don't know if you've been have you been listening?
Actually, no.
Okay, so
I took a short nap before the show and woke up a little bit too late, and now I've just got a few written notes over here. I just wrote up some notes real quick about a few things. But
on the air with us right now is Jeran of Jeranism, one of the founding fathers, from what I understand, of this flat Earth theory. I don't know if that's true.
Founding fathers of what?
Of the flat Earth theory, I guess. So, Jeran, this is Amy Martin. And
hi, Amy.
Hi, Jeran. So you're the one who founded the Flat Earth Society back in the 50s?
No. Well,
that's just the title they're giving me. I just one of the first few people that came out on YouTube. There was several before me, but one of the early ones.
Okay, so
would you happen to know Ronald Farnham?
Never heard of him.
You've never heard of him. He's the guy who supposedly called NASA and was trying to get information from them, some videos of round Earth, and we had a brief chat. It was really interesting. You can check out my chat with him last year if you'd like. It's over on hauntedskeptic.com. I believe it's podcast episode number 3. That was my old podcast.
Okay, cool.
And before we get into that, before Skype shit the bed on us all, as it does so frequently.
Well, shit the bed.
Yes. Well, Jeran was actually posing a question to us round Earthers. Jeran, can you reiterate that, please, so Amy can get it too?
Yeah, I was just making sure that one thing that I never did was actually stop and think about, as a globe believer, which I was my entire life, went through school like everybody, and never stopped and thought about what it actually all required of me, which requires that you you have to settle with the belief that you're spinning 1,000 miles per hour, that you're going around the sun 66,000 miles per hour, that the entire solar system is going around the galaxy at 500,000 miles per hour, the galaxy is going around the Great Attractor at 2.2 million miles per hour. So we're actually traveling.
It's exciting stuff. We are traveling quite fast.
Yes, and in many different directions. And we don't feel anything, by the way. We don't feel a thing. And also that the Great Attractor itself is 100 quadrillion times the size of our sun. So despite them telling us what science entails, which is it has to be testable, falsifiable, it has to be repeatable, that's a scientific fact.
I do have a question, though. Have you ever flown in an airplane?
That was my question. That was my exact fucking question. Go ahead.
So you have flown in an airplane before?
An airplane flies straight. It sure does.
Many times.
It gets to cruising altitude. The pilot hits autopilot, which is cruise control for the plane, and then the plane flies straight and never compensates for curvature. You would have to...
Listen, let's take this back a little bit. I just wanted to know if either of you had flown on an airplane before and were aware, that you were going probably, in some cases, 1,100 miles an hour.
No, 500.
When do you fly?
Well, actually, when you take off on the ground, most planes, you get up to about, I'd say maybe 100 miles per hour in this example we'll use. But at some point, you are flying around 1,100 miles per hour, depending on where you are. And when you're up in the airplane,
technology has made so many things plausible. You mean to tell me no one has come up with a way that we can insulate our bodies through some strange suit or something to traverse these places without freezing to death?
So you can't go down to Antarctica, right? I mean, you have to have permission of your government. It's, think of land in this world. That any land that anybody ever found, it was immediately seized upon by governments, by people, by sailors, by, anybody looking for anything they can come up on. So then you have Antarctica down there, which even Admiral Byrd, who went down there in the 30s and 40s, said that there's a huge, vast amount of coal. It's got all this resources. It'll supply the world for years. But then all of a sudden, in 1950, I actually think it was 62 or something around then, a combined effort by all these governments that are all fighting in all these wars and everything, but they got together and said, We have to make an Antarctic treaty that nobody can go to Antarctica, that it cannot be used for anything other than our scientific purposes with the people we allow to go down there, when we say they can go, and the exact directions that we say they can go down there. So it's not something that you or I can just get on a boat and go to Antarctica. It's not allowed.
But people have been to Antarctica.
Sure.
Yeah, only to see the penguins and stuff. It's the only piece of land in the whole world that's not claimed and resourced. It's the only piece of land that's not claimed by nobody.
But he just said that but Jaron just said that the land was claimed by the governments. So
nobody can claim
There's a treaty saying that no one could go there and pull the resources out of Antarctica. That's what the treaty says. No one. It's the only piece of land that's not resourced, that no one owns and claims and is using it to extract.
Okay. So one of the things I'm sorry, you guys blow my mind. It's fucking awesome. Joe, what are you making of this?
Well, I'm trying to take it all in, you know.
So let me just ask you guys a question back real quick.
Of course.
You do realize that to believe what you believe, that we're on a spinning ball at 1,000 miles per hour at the equator, maybe 700 miles per hour up and around the United States.
Mach 1.5.
Huh?
Mach 1.5. They think we're going Mach 1.5.
Right. And you think that combined with the sun, we're all moving around the galaxy at 490,000 miles per hour, and that the galaxy and us and the solar system are all going around the Great Attractor at 2.2 million miles per hour, and the Great Attractor is 100 quadrillion times the size of our sun. That's what you believe. And just note that you're calling us crazy, when this is what you believe, that you are flying through outer space, the endless space. And we get asked all the time, what's underneath the flat Earth? Come on, guys, what's underneath it? And it's like, okay, what's under space? I mean, how you have accepted a belief that space is never ending. It's going as far as there is no, it's going down and up and left and right forever. And
Hello? Did we lose him? Hello? Okay. For whatever reason, Skype just died. So I'm going to reconnect everyone. Hang on one second, guys. Amy, do I have you?
Hello.
Okay, we have you. Let me add the rest now. You got
Hello.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
This is madness. Hang on, let me get these other guys back.
Am I back on, buddy?
You're back, Joe. Hang on.
Hey, Joe, how are you?
Let me get Jaron.
I'm good. How are you? It's wonderful to meet you.
It's wonderful to meet you again, too, I guess.
Yeah, well, it's the first time we've actually...
Continent that it's 12,000 miles around that you can circumnavigate in a couple of weeks or nothing. Antarctica is a big, huge ice wall that's 60,000 miles around that takes 3 years to go around. And this has been, several sailors have did this. The one most recently, probably about within 5 years ago, some British dudes went down there and went all the way around Antarctica, said it took them about 3 years, and it was about 60 to 70,000 miles they put on their boat, on the odometer.
George, any comment on that?
Well, me?
I mean, Jaron, I'm sorry.
That's right. No, I mean, he's absolutely right that just looking at the past, looking at Captain Cook's logs, Magellan's logs, those guys went, I think Cook had it down at 60,000 miles, saying that he could never find the southern continent. So how is that? Because he said he saw a wall of ice as far as he could see east and west. And they just kept going, and it took him 60-something thousand miles. Same thing with Magellan. I think his was around 52,000 miles. But come on, the equator is supposed to be 25,000 miles. So what are we doing taking 50,000 miles to go around the southern hemisphere?
Okay, so wait. So you're saying that Magellan and these other explorers, they have seen this ice wall?
Absolutely.
Now, how come no one has seen it recently?
Everybody's seen it. If you just type in, or you could go to Google Earth and bring up, Antarctica and just go around where all the little pictures are around the edge of Antarctica. The entire thing is an ice wall. That's what you see when you get there.
But what?
And if you just look up ice wall, Antarctic ice wall. Look that up in Google right now, and you'll see thousands of pictures.
But is it on Wikipedia?
I don't know. You have to look up ice wall and see what you
If it's not on Wikipedia, it can't be true, dude. That's just the way the internet works. So here's another question, because I have questions, because this shit blows my mind. It really does. If if the world has a finite end, okay, that's up against a wall and all that stuff, okay, how come no one's ever traversed this wall and looked over the edge of it and seen nothingness, I guess? Because if the earth is flat, obviously on the other side of the wall is just outer space. It's a void, correct?
Well, let me point something out real quick. Just that you have to remember that when we were taught in school, and I went through school just like you guys did. I believed what you guys did till 2 years ago. That we're taught a certain flat Earth. We're taught about going and finding the edge, and we're talking about boats sailing off the edge. So they certainly pushed a certain type of flat Earth. They told us, well, you couldn't fly around it. How would you fly around it? How could the sun be both day and night? And so we all thought it was silly and goofy, and we get shown the globe, right from second grade, first grade. So we all assumed it was a globe and assumed scientists had done the test. But what you're talking about is like an edge that you would fall off. People have gone to Antarctica, and when they go up there, it's just vast snow. And if they went too far, it would be too cold for them to live. So no one's ever seen the edge. We don't even know if the edge exists. We don't even know if there's more land on the other side of the wall. Who would know those things? Because we can't go there. If you try and go to Antarctica, go ahead and try it and see what happens to you.
Okay, but
the Antarctic Treaty says you can't go down there.
Okay, but wait. What you just said, we can't see the edge. No one knows if the edge exists, right?
Correct.
Then how do you know there's an edge? Isn't everything flat have an edge? So if you don't believe in the edge, do you think the world just goes on in every direction vast? Is that it? I mean, I'm not trying to make fun of you. I'm just trying to wrap my head around it.
I would have, a lot of questions for your beliefs as well. But if we don't know because we haven't been able to see it, then it would be just conjecture for me to say that, right?
To a point, I guess. But my point is, we live in a world where
Astronauts to the moon.
10, 9, ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
Welcome to reality.
Yeah, baby, here we are. We're back with Brainwaves on DeepTalkRadio.com. I am, as always, Uncle Creepy, Steve Barton, and joining me is Joe Netter. Netter!
Yeah, buddy.
This is a show I've been wanting to do for a long time. Let me tell you a little story. Amy says she is getting ready. So, yes, she will be on the debate. She just needs a few more minutes, and that's cool because I'm gonna call her at 10 o'clock, and we're gonna do our thing. I'm so glad, Amy. Thank you for coming on the show, and this is just gonna be fucking an extraordinarily fun time. with
Oh,
one of the
it's going to be great. I'm going to pleasure myself.
one of the single most, this is like a big thing now, man, this flat earth thing. I was unaware of how big it is. And it's not big enough for me to buy it, but it's big enough for me to like pay attention to it, if only out of morbid curiosity. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And where did you first hear about the flat earthers?
Well, I mean, I think it started in the year 784. Benjamin Holclaw was taking his principal cruiser across the ocean looking for new poontang. I don't know, man. It's it's just one of those things that just pop up on occasion with the internet. I mean, how the internet goes. It's a forum for anybody to be as weird as they want, and we obviously celebrate that because look at us.
No, that's what I mean, dude. I am very much of the belief that everyone can believe whatever they want, whatever gets them through the day. I'm not here to make fun of anybody. I wouldn't make fun of anybody, but I genuinely want to hear how, these people could think of such a thing. Because like I mini debated George over dinner. I was like, well, do you believe in science? And his answer was no. I'm like, do you believe in gravity? And he's like, no. I'm like, well, how the fuck do you think you're standing on the earth? So bizarre. I can't wait. As a matter of fact, I think that we're going to throw the break a little early, and I'm going to try to get everyone together. So this break might be about 10 minutes long. So guys, hang on. We'll be back with Brainwaves and the Great Flat Earth Debate of 2016 in just a few minutes. We'll be right back. And